But man, I'll tell you what, wow, are things exciting and moving right now. This market is on fire. And I know a lot of people are coming out there saying, hey, this is some kind of a suckers rally. Well, guys, I'll tell you what, I have actually lived through this very situation in prior cycles, and it feels like, it looks like, it smells like exactly like those prior cycles. So don't think that it's just some kind of suckers rally. We go all the way up and boom, all the way down, and then drop down. I just don't believe that. I just really don't see that as what's happening. Now, hey, look at the size of this coffee cup that I chose this morning, because a lot of folks have been saying, hey, he says he has one cup, but it's one pot in one cup. Well, in today's case, it could be. And it says my brain has too many tabs open. And truly, this is really not a coffee cup. It's a soup cup. But I thought it would be funny and to actually drink my coffee out of this. So this morning, I've got two cups in there, just so y'all know. Love it. I just love it. Man, I'll tell you what, nectar of the gods for sure. Anyhow, let's give some shout outs. So, right at the top here, I've got Peter Pan. I got John Rokesincher, Jeffkins, Crypto Armageddon, and Jason. Jason, you're one of my. I really enjoy you, man. You're just such an amazing, positive soul. You're always putting great, positive comments in there. I really, really appreciate you so much. And when you're not posting, believe it or not, I've looked and hey, I'm missing that guy. Where is he? Where is he? So sometimes I'm looking for you there. Peter L. Eric Wallace. Hey, Chocolate Tobler. By the way, this guy, Chocolate Tober, one of my closest friends in this whole space, and him and I have taken this ride together in a long way, and he was one of my, I think he was my one of my first three subscribers. So fantastic supporter, and I really appreciate him so much. Jerry R. Jason, now I'm gonna try and get this, Jason O'Loughlin. Now I hope I got that. Hope I got that. Hey, and Dimitri, you're back. I can't wait either, Dimitri. I'm really looking forward to meeting you. What's interesting is I'm thinking that your name, first and last is Russian, and Judy lived over there in Belarus and Ukraine for some 12 years. And so she knows a little bit of Russian, and she says you only need to know two things. Da and "Ya tibia lublю," which means I love you, right? So my wife says that's the only Russian you need to know. All right, so Philip Hawkins from the UK. Boy, I'll tell you what, I love you guys from the UK. You just are amazing folks. On Australia, wow, I am so impressed with the support that I get from both of those countries. Truly amazing people. Mandalee, Bando, Poppy Todd, Tim Arthur, Brad Tays. I love you, Brad. You're doing great. Eli Seward, Sir Photography, Philip. Did I say Philip before? I'm not sure. Philip Hawkins. I'll get that one out there. Hey, and if I miss you, please forgive me because I'm going to try my very best to be on top of these. Um, Okay, let's just take a look here. Jerry R. So, Jerry, when you say that, I'm just going to ask Judy if everyone's able to see the whole screen. I don't know. Scott Steele. Let's just take a look. KM90 crew. Boston. Wow, Boston. I'd love to go to Boston. And man, I remember when the Boston Bruins won that's down it was just amazing. So let's just take a look here. Tony Wynn, Andrew Gaffney, Crypto Spider. We got Hendrik Constable, South Africa. Wow, hey, that's fantastic. Long way there. Martin, I'm gonna try and get this. Martin Adjay. Marco Sukala. Now I'm not sure where Tenerife is, River Chilliwack. Hey, I was living just down the road from Hey, I used to actually drive out to Chilliwack to do those farm service roads where we would set up our homemade ranges and do our little plinking. We brought our SKSs out there, our 22s and whatever. And so my son and I would go out there and we kept a clean range. And the reason why they shut all those farm service roads down is because people would leave all their pop cans, beer cans, you name it, and all their trash out there, wouldn't clean up their range, wouldn't take their casings and all that. So it really kind of ruined it for everybody else. So that was kind of sad, but Chilliwack's an amazing space. And you remember the band Chilliwack? Gun, 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 to be gun solo. So they had some really good ones out there. Joe G. Karam. I don't think we're going to see another big dip, Joe. I really don't. I think we may see some little ones and some retracings back to support for sure, but I don't think it's going to be deep. I don't think we're going to see a big, deep dip. I really, really don't. Gerald Moore, Gord F., Steve Wade, James Griver. Let me just take a look here. I'm going to try and get to them, and then we're going to start writing. Yeah, hey, I love cinnamon in my coffee. So, and by the way, from all the comments that I've gotten with respect to the creamers and that, I'm taking that to heart. So what Judy and I plan on doing is rather than buy that coffee made hazelnut flavored creamer, we're going to actually get real cream and then we're going to get some little pumps of hazelnut, kind of syrup and try that out because I've heard a lot of people say, hey, those creamers are absolutely lethal. And of course, we don't want that. Now the cinnamon is legit. It's literally shaved cinnamon that goes back down in there. So really looking forward to that. Let's just take a look there. I see Dutch Cowboy with Mark Timer 2212 and the Attila Group LLC. Hey, I love Attila. I remember I had this I had this boss one time and she was a really hard kind of person and we used to go around calling her Attila the honey, which is kind of sad, but you know how everyone has a nickname for a boss that's kind of tough on them, right? Oh my gosh. H bar did phenomenal. Crypto Armageddon put that down. I was watching that and I was absolutely blown away. It was just shooting off like a rocket ship. I mean, 35% candle. That was phenomenal. Look, if you saw that in a traditional market, you would literally be losing your mind and just jumping on there. I mean, those kind of gains, guys. I've watched in this space, and there's folks on this channel that can remember seeing this themselves, literally watching candles, 100% candles in just a few hours. And you think to yourself, oh man. And of course, that whole FOMO, you're like, oh, you want to FOMO in because the candle's just moving so fast. And what's crazy is this, you see this 100% move and you think, okay, this is obviously going to peter out, da 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 da. And what happens the next day? Bang, another 100% move on those candles. It is truly wild. When we go through this bull run, I'm telling you guys, it is going to test you in ways that you really can't imagine. I shared that story. And by the way, Chocolate Tobler was in that group with me. And we know of a guy who was really struggling. And I've shared it how he was from Germany. And the thing is that, like at first, like he was having a real hard time with things. And by and by, his portfolio goes up, 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 up. And I remember hearing him comment, and we're like, dude, you've got to take some off the table. He literally went into 7 figures. And needless to say, he just kept holding, and then bang, the window comes and drops. Like when it drops like that, the reason they say that is bears go up the stairs is sometimes it does take some time to get up there, right? But boy, when that bear market hits and the window opens, it's like a stone. What could take months to claw your way up happens literally in days and maybe even short weeks. Bang, down it went. 40% down. Of course, he's in his mind thinking, hey, just a couple weeks ago, it was over 7 figures. And of course, you just stick to that in your whole, and boom, down again. And you can ride it all the way up and all the way down. And most people think that doesn't make sense. Why would I do that? Da, da, da. I'm telling you guys, the narrative that goes on when we're in a hyped market like that is something to behold. Most people mentally, you're genuinely not prepared for it. It is truly going to be wild. Oh, and by the way, I don't know why, like it's almost subconscious when I sip some coffee and I put in my mouth and you feel all those flavors just swirling around in your tongue. You can't help but, get a little bit of express a little ecstasy. And that's why I say, and I've been doing it forever. And even my wife, she laughs. I don't know why. Sometimes I do it. It's just subconscious. I'll be doing it, and then when I don't do it is usually when I'm thinking about it and then I don't do it. See? Anyhow, wow, amazing stuff. So let's just take a look and see what kind of questions. Oh, wow. Let's just see here. Now, I'm not sure if this question is can your consultant group. Now, I'm just taking a look back to see if this question was, actually for myself or if this is for um, somebody else. But let's just take a look and see. Yeah, Tony, I'm with you there. I am so tired. I mean, this has been a long haul with this lawsuit, and it is just crazy, how long it is. But I'll tell you what, you're right. We owe Gary some measure of thanks. My wife just texted me a big message there. But no, we owe Gary a big measure of thanks because the truth of the matter is this lawsuit has provided us with one of the best opportunities you're going to see in this entire space. And I think generationally to pick these assets up at the prices that they are. I'm going to tell you something, guys. Back in 2008 to 11, I was working with the government of Canada in Alberta, and I was working, well, for a portion in Alberta and the other portion in BC, but I was working underground economy and special enforcement, that type of stuff. And I remember when Bitcoin came out and all of that. I remember going to the classes, learning all about it, then turning around and teaching the same information that I had learned about, because of course back then, Bitcoin was good for tax cheats, drug dealers and the like and all, even worse things than that kind of thing. And that was a method of, of consideration making payments in the underground economy. And I knew about Bitcoin when it was literally pennies. Pennies, if you can believe it. And of course, and Judy, by the way, she was saying, "Hey, what do you think of this Bitcoin? Do you think we should get it?" I said, no, we don't want to touch that considering what it's being used for. And then obviously, you didn't want to get associated with that. I'm telling you guys, literally, one good meal would have made us billionaires. That's how ridiculous it is. And listen, we just saw that article there where, 13 years ago, a transaction was made where $5 purchased 5,000 Bitcoin, and 13 years later, that $5 investment would have been worth 348 million. Can you imagine? $20 investment would have made you a billionaire. If you had invested $100, it would have made you a multi-billionaire. Well, guys, that's what I think about. That's how I feel when I think about some of these ISO tokens and getting them sub $1. I think what we're actually stepping into is probably one of the biggest and most generational wealth transfers that you will ever imagine. Now, that is my personal belief, especially when you see the infrastructure down the road with distributed ledger technology. I mean, they are flat out showing, no one's hiding this, that distributed ledger technology is going to be used in the development of central bank digital currencies. No one's hiding that distributed ledger technology is going to be used when it comes to transferring value around the globe, and not just cross-border payments like what Ripple is doing, but trade finance like with XDC and the tokenization of gold out in Dubai. DMCC is doing that. Not only are they doing tokenization of gold in Dubai, they're doing it elsewhere around the world. And then you just kind of think about Hedera Hashgraph and all that they're doing behind the scenes with respect to smart contract technology for major corporations. It is going to be wild. Then you got VeChain. Now, VeChain, really, one of the best use cases I've ever seen is, to track and kind of like counteract this counterfeit goods system. And think about this, guys. When you're dealing with counterfeit goods, it's not just about, the manufacturer ensuring that they're not getting ripped off with all these counterfeit sales, but think of the people issues behind that. A lot of these counterfeiters, they have people working in like really ridiculous situations, and it's literally indentured servitude. So VeChain coming out there and fighting this whole counterfeit product stuff and talking about logistics and utilizing blockchain for that, that is helping to solve a major humanitarian issue in the world. And you got to give Sonny Liew a lot of credit for that, because this guy obviously comes out of Louis Vuitton, Moët Hennessy. And by the way, when you look at that organization and all of the luxury brands under its umbrella, it is staggering. And VeChain has some of the best partnerships you're ever going to find. Now, interestingly enough, I want to talk about something, because yesterday I was going on there. Of course, I was looking at my H-bar bag and I thought, I really think we might make a good run here. And I was like, getting a little FOMO, but not too much. I was trying to buy up another little bag of H-bar. Well, I get on to Coinbase because I thought this is quick and expedient and I can, put in a quick trade and get it all done. Lo and behold, you could sign in and log into Coinbase, but when it came to buying for a couple hours there, every time I go to refresh, it would say, oh, there's connection issues. We're working on it to fix it. And I'm telling you, when you see major spikes in this market, a lot of these exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken and on, they go down, and they go down a lot when it happens like that. Now, that is why, guys, I really like Caleb and Brown. And it's not because, hey, they're the best in the world. I think they're pretty good. But the fact of the matter is, for most folks to have access to over-the-counter trading, it requires some big time thresholds. For instance, I have an over-the-counter trading account with Kraken. The minimum trade on that account is $100,000. How many people are going to be able to do that? And by the way, have like a 5% fee, and you're almost paying $5,000 to move that 100 grand. Well, most people aren't going to have that. Well, Caleb and Brown allows people to actually have a broker get on the phone. The fee is 3.5%. True. But the reality is you're able to actually minimum trade, if you use their portal, is $500. And if you actually utilize your broker, I think the minimum trade is $2,000. Well, how many people are holding on to their bags expecting it to be worth more than $2,000? I'm sure quite a few. And the nice thing about over the counter is this: you don't have to worry about your exchange goes down. You pick up your phone, you call your broker, he tells you where to send your assets. You do that from cold storage, by the way. Don't keep your assets off on an exchange, because just like I said, you can get locked out. And then what happens? You send it over to where he says, you do a test transaction, they confirm it, blah, 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 and bam. And by the way, when they go to sell it, they're selling it at a multiplicity of exchanges all at one time, including, private purchasers and other networks that they're involved with. So they have access to quite a bit. And they're able to actually get out. You can actually liquidate your position really fast. And the nice thing is this: they can literally wire the funds. And I have done this with them, so I know how it works. They wire your funds directly into your bank account. Now, I've heard some folks say, because I had one guy say, he wasn't sure if his bank would accept, large wires like that. And so go into your bank and find out, is there because I went into my bank and that was a question I had. I wanted to make sure, hey, that this bank is going to accept, those transfers, those wires. Now, guys, I know a lot of you are on right now. And so what I want to do is I want to switch over. I want to show you guys something here. And it's something new to the channel. I always try to have something new to the channel when I start, when I get on and do. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm just actually going to go in here and I want to show you guys something new. So let me just go over here and switch scenes here. Let's do window capture here and No, yeah, there it is. Okay. All right, so guys, what I want to show you here is this. Let me just see here if this is going to work the way I want it to. But I know you can't see me. You can see me back in there. But guys, we now have memberships. And you can, it looks like I would have to sign in to do it, but we now have memberships, and, we have little emojis and different things like that. And the prices are like, very minimal, I think $2.99 for the tier one, which I call Digibit. And from that one, you're gonna get access to all those little emojis, and you're gonna and the badges along with that, priority responses on your comments and things like that. And then the next one there is at $4.99, and from there you're gonna get actual personal shout outs and things like that. And then I have a tier, and the highest I went was $24.99 if someone really wanted to do that. And from there you're getting all the other stuff. Plus, I'm giving a 20% discount off of the coaching that we do, which actually turns out to be quite a, good savings for you. And so, look, I think it's like 20% is going to be $50 or something off. But guys, I really thought like to have something else to throw out to the community. And those badges, interesting. If you're a member for a month, it's a different badge and a different one all the way down. And so it's actually quite cool. And it even helps me to be able to identify, hey, this is a long-term member supporter and that type of thing. And from that, I can respond in priority to those comments, because with the comments that come in, I mean, there are thousands of comments that come in oftentimes. And I found it was getting to a point where it was really hard. Now, I read every comment. You could be absolutely sure I read every one of your comments, and and you'll know it's me because I put a thumbs up and I put a heart. And then, of course, I will respond to comments as well. And, oftentimes it depends on which ones, but I try to respond to some. And yeah, with the naysayers and stuff like that, and sometimes people come out with some FUD, well, I'll respond to those so that I can clear up that, because I'm thinking, well, if this guy's thinking like that, maybe somebody else is. I'm going to throw this out there and just let the community, observe it. Now, having said that, I have been thinking about what is a great way to answer questions, because some people have a lot of questions and, different things like that. Now, live streaming, of course, is that, but we do live streams, at celebrations of milestones like this one. By the way, we're practically at 17,000 subscribers as a community. Absolutely phenomenal. And boy, I'll tell you what, our community has an amazing reputation. People really see that for the majority, we go in there, we clean up all that WhatsApp stuff. And even when we do have negative comments, I try to respond with kindness towards those negative comments. I had one this morning that was really rough, but I tried to address it, in a way that I felt was respectful and kind and would actually build the person up. I'm not out to go tear somebody down because they tore me down. That's the whole turn the other cheek kind of deal, right? And it's so easy. It's so easy to take shots at people because, you're insulated by the screen. I think sometimes people that say things like that, they never say that kind of stuff face to face because they realize, hey, it's just not. But when you're sitting there at your computer, it's almost like, there's this invisible filter that's been completely removed. And some people just go to town. Well, needless to say, I've learned not to really react in those ways. And I would encourage you guys, look, there's always going to be folks in your life that are going to throw darts. I mean, that's just the way it is. But the thing is, it's not their actions. It's how we learn to react to those things, right? We react with kindness. Kindness, I've heard it said, is something the blind can see and the deaf can hear. Now, why that quote was so vitally meaningful to me is I happen to have a son that was born deaf, blind, mute, and with quadriplegic cerebral palsy. And of course, most people see me upbeat and stuff like that. Well, I'll tell you guys, that comes from way down on the inside. It has nothing to do with happiness because, of course, happiness depends on happenings, right? Circumstances. And don't kid yourself, I have sad moments like everybody else does, right? But joy, genuine joy, comes from somewhere deep, deep, deep down. And nobody can really take that from you. It's like a well. It's like a well, and it's springing up. And I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and a lot of people know that. So in me, there's this saying. It says that, hey, out of me should flow rivers of living water, and I sure hope it does. Now that does not mean that I'm a perfect human being. All you have to do is talk to Judy for 2 minutes. You'll find out that I'm not. But needless to say, That is cool. Well, hey, we got family farms from Grenada. Wow. Wow. Thank you, Jeff. That is, yes, 17,000. Wow, it just blows my mind, when you think about that. And the fact of the community, look at how social media has really shrunken down our world, that we're able to interact with folks from literally all across the globe, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa today, Grenada, we have a UK, South America, on and on. And you can see that from a global level, there's a lot of people that share a kindred heart towards various things. And look how this technology has just brought people together now. Imagine what metaverse and this new digital economy that we're moving into with all this distributed ledger technology, it is going to blow us away. And think about that. I remember when my kids brought Facebook to me the first time, and I'm like, who on earth why would anybody want that? Tell them who all their friends are, taking pictures of their food, and on and on and on. I'm telling you, I could never have been so wrong in my life. And there's a lot of people who do not understand this distributed ledger technology space, but it is going to revolutionize how this world functions, how it operates. Hey, Crypto Spider, thank you so much. Now you're asking, are we really getting rich off of XRP, XLM, or are we just in a pipe dream? My honest opinion is the opportunity for wealth in any other space is not as great as it is right now in this space. And why is that? Just like I'm saying, this distributed ledger technology is literally going to change the world. Now you look at what Ripple is doing with XRP. Forget about price. Just look at utility alone. Is it solving real world major financial problems? Well, we know that it is with their on-demand liquidity platform. But beyond that, you have nation states that are hiring Ripple to build for them literally the money that state is going to use. And they're involved in the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Foundation. And you can see how distributed ledger technology is transforming the globe. Now ask yourself, if you're in a space like that and you know what's coming down the road, and we just talked about the social media impacts, do you think that there's opportunity there? That's the question you need to ask. Is there real opportunity there? My guess is there is. Nobody in their right mind ever knew back in the the bubble days, how massive Amazon was going to be. The juggernaut that it has become is truly phenomenal. And hey, do you remember when they were bringing home computers in? For those of us that do, back then you had the Apple IIc and all that. My first computer was a Timex Sinclair. Yep, the watchmaker, Timex Sinclair. Remember that? And loading up programs on a tape cassette and all that. Nobody at that time really, I was more interested in the technology, but the reality is if we had just examined it, we realize, hey, not only eventually were everyone going to have a computer in their home, they're going to have one in their pocket. Can you believe that? They're going to have one in their pocket, not just in their home. It is amazing. The technology that's on this device right here made my first home computers look like absolutely antiquated dinosaurs in comparison. And yet, people are questioning whether or not they can see the infrastructure of distributed ledger technology, and they are not seeing that there's potential opportunity. So Crypto Spider, I think that the opportunity for potential wealth gaining changes in your life is there. Now, how long will it take? How high will it go? Well, no one has a crystal ball. No one would have guessed Bitcoin would have ever reached 69,000 when it started out as pennies, and that it would do it in less than 15 years. Truly amazing. So, hey, I think it's really great. JRB, in this age of datafication and AI, we need to ensure our rights to freedom of thought and expression. Our digital identification becomes us. Yes, I agree with that. We definitely need regulation like that in a major, major way, humongous way. Why is this so vitally important? Because, guys, the reality is we have had people marketing us like we're a product ourselves. And by that, I mean, your TikTok, your Facebook, your Twitter, your this. Guys, they have monetized you as a human being. You have become a resource for them. Why? Because all the data and the information and all your friends and associates and you name it. Well, with blockchain, this whole paradigm needs to be turned on its head where you can monetize yourself, not some third party. And we're not going to acquiesce to licensing agreements to utilize tech only so they can rape us when it comes to our personal information. I mean, they listen in on every word we say. We could talk about various things, and all of a sudden the advertising pops up. They know where we are. You're walking down the street. You just so happen to be coming up towards a Dairy Queen. And what do? They advertise you a banana split. You know, they know exactly where you are. All that information is so valuable in big ways. And think of your GPSs in your vehicles. Now, yeah, it's a great convenience to be able to say, find this, find that, and drive there and that. But the data that is being collected there is being monetized. They know the off-ramps that are the most popular in all the various cities, and literally real estate prices are absolutely established based on the data that people are getting out of their GPSs. It's not just, hey, you get to go here and you get to go there, right? All that information, that's the convenience. That's the buy-in. But what happens after that is the information they use to sell. Now, I just talked about this one with that iRobot Roomba. Can you imagine? I mean, this thing's going around your house, cleaning everything, and, you know, it knows your floor plan to the square foot, knows the furniture, where it's positioned in your home, even taking pictures of what's in your house, including you, by the way. In that story, a person was sitting on the toilet. How can you imagine? And this iRobot Roomba took a picture of them. Well, man, all that information is you're buying an appliance, paying, I don't know, $500-600 for this thing to clean your house. But that $500 or $600, this is how crazily they've got us duped. That $500 or $600 that you paid for that is nothing. Within the first month, they probably made $5,000 off of the information that they've been able to collect on you and sell. It is truly ridiculous. But if they gave it away for free, people would clue in. Hey, nothing comes in life for free. What are they getting out of it? But because they put a price tag on it and they say, oh, it's $500 or $600, you know, you're thinking, oh, I'm buying an appliance that I want to use. The reality is, no. They're selling you a tool so that they can monetize you and get that information out of you and make and turn you into a money-making proposition for them. Ongoing and residual. They don't care how long as long as that machine is working, they're making money every day. Don't kid yourself. And it's the same thing with our phones. Yeah, New Zealand is ushering in digital ID. Yeah, digital ID. Man, oh, thank gosh. That Jacinda, holy moly. I didn't know too much about her. But now that I've read up on her, what a scary individual, man. She's like a disciple of Klaus Schwab to the nth degree, and it's just absolutely crazy. The stuff that is coming out of this WEF is absolutely insane. And I really pray that New Zealand out there, they end up getting, a great replace who's not going to acquiesce to all this nonsense. And remember this, guys, sovereignty matters. We do have God-given personal sovereignty to live a life. It's that whole pursuit of happiness and what it is and what it means and, the fulfillment in life. Look, this is a one-way journey, right? We don't get to get off at, this stop and then go back. None of us get to go back. It's a forward journey. It's a one-way trip. Well, the reality is we want this to be the best trip that it could be for us and for our children and for our grandchildren. Unfortunately, there's other folks that want it to be the best trip for them. And the best trip for them is making sure that you and I are in the caboose. It's like, what's that show? Snowpiercer. I mean, this is the kind of, dystopian world that it seems like a lot of these WEF folks and these wannabes that, subscribe to this. And another thing that really is disturbing is this. It used to be that being a politician was you were acting as a civil servant. You didn't go in there in order to become mega wealthy, but you see a lot of these politicians will go in there. Most of them, by the way, have a lot of backing before they even get there. So they're already practically millionaires anyway, if not millionaires, right? Then they get in and what they come out being like centimillionaires worth a $200-300 million or billionaires. And then they get out and all their friends that all support them, they make sure, hey, you get the best book deal, you get the $1 million speeches, you get all this kind of stuff. And I'm telling you, it has changed so much that they literally feel they've been in there for so long, like people like Pelosi, so long that they feel they can bequeath those positions to their family. That's like, we're literally went backwards, and it's not so much the divine right of kings, now it's the divine right of politicians, and we've got to change that narrative. And the only way that changes is with the rank and file, you and I, we get out there and we literally say no more, and we better do it sooner rather than later, because the reality is you get your freedoms ebbed away bit by bit. It's a slow fade, but once it goes dark, it's game over. You've lost it. And try and get it back. It's going to cost you blood, sweat, and tears to get it back. Not just standing up and vocalizing your concerns. It's going to cost lives to get it back. That's how bad it will be if it gets down that far. And sure hope, I pray it doesn't. All right, so Gord, who thinks BTC will hit 30K by February 1st? Wow. That is a real possibility. Now, we've only got 11 days, something like that, because today's the 21st. So, 10 days plus the first itself. We'll have to see. I think it could get up over 25K. Definitely, I think we could see over 25K before the end. But we have watched these markets move in big ways. So could we see 30K? Well, it's a possibility, to be sure. Yes, Bruce, term limits. And for everybody, not just presidential candidates, but I think every member of Congress, every member of the Senate should be maxed out at 2 terms. But do you think they're ever going to vote that in for themselves? I highly doubt it. They no way. They're not. And it's interesting. Isn't it amazing how Nancy Pelosi's husband, every trade that guy makes is a winning trade. Never made a bad call. Never, ever. Amazing. He must have the best portfolio management that there has ever been. I'll tell you what. And what's truly amazing is it is not illegal. Get this. It is not illegal for members of Congress to insider trade in the way in which they do or benefit off of information that they come in contact with. Is that insane or what? That is absolutely insane. Totally ridiculous. All right, JRB, these rights could be protected by law through the establishment of regulatory agencies and oversight mechanisms and through the enforcement of penalties. Yeah, if we would enforce the penalty. But the reality is this, JRB, a barking dog with no teeth is no threat, right? So these guys like to get up and they like to bark, bark, bark. They want to have the reputation of actually enforcing the law, but do they ever really do it? I mean, look at SBF. I mean, the guy gets bailed out and then they hide who the people are that bailed him out. Why? Is it Nancy Pelosi? Is it some other bigwig out there? Who's bailing this guy out to the tune of that kind of dough, right? Who's securing that? I think the public has a right to know, but of course they want to keep it all behind closed doors. It would not surprise me, man, if this whole thing, if he gets charged and convicted and gets something, but before Biden leaves office, that they'll issue him some kind of a pardon or something. It'll be ridiculous. All right, Just Blaze. When taking profit, is it best to convert to stable coins or send from cold storage to an exchange and sell? Well, hey, that's a great question. Remember this. You can hold stable coins. Oh, there's my daughter just running by the window here, I think. Yep, there she is. So you can store USDC and some other stable coins like USDT and all that on a cold wallet. You can store it on a cold wallet. Now, having said that, when, converting it to stable coins. Now that's interesting concept because of course those stable coins are pegged to the fiat currency itself. So if the fiat is going up or down or all over the place or it crashes, then the stable coin is likely that is tied to is likely to crash as well. So, like you have to really want to think about what are your goals in taking those profits? Is it just having it there? Just, like I agree. I understand the concept because, I don't trust the banks either. Right. And so I don't know if I want to keep all my, liquid wealth in a bank. I want it to be liquid, but, keeping it in a stable coin and having it on a ledger, it's in your bank, right? There's no bank confiscations and things like that. And then, of course, you have to think about just please, what stable coin would you be looking at? Would it be USDC? Would it be USDT? Would it be some of these other ones? Hey, they just released recently a stable coin on the XRP ledger, and I think it's called USDS or something like that. So there are a bunch of various options you might want to think about that. All right, so let's just take a look here. Yeah, Jack, I really like you said that, like what was going on there within his house. I mean, who was the third party who opened the door to let the cops in? Have you ever thought about that when you're talking about Paul Pelosi? And why were both of them standing there in their underwear? I mean, the whole thing is messed, totally messed. Hey, Jerry. Hey, thanks. There we go. We're getting some folks that are joining up into the tier one of the membership. That is fantastic because you know what? I want to be able to speak to those people and share with those supporters. And it's just a way of identifying, people that have been in the space a long time and I want to translate some value back to you guys because you really do deserve it. Um, UDCT. So I'm not sure about that one. Kenny, hey, I'll have to look that one up. All right. Yes, you would, Stuart. No matter what. Even, by the way, when it comes to your taxes, now this is something I can speak on as a subject matter expert. When you're dealing with these digital assets and you're dealing with your taxes, remember this, it's not just when you get your fiat and you buy a digital asset. So let's imagine take $1,000, you go in there and you buy some XRP. Well, yes, you have bought some XRP and you're going to report that. Now, it's not taxable at that point in the sense that you haven't really sold any. But if you were to say, oh, I'm going to take $500 of the XRP, 500 worth of my XRP, and I'm going to use that to buy XLM, that's a taxable event. So when you convert a digital asset to a digital asset, that in itself is also a taxable event. And so it's not just when you convert back to fiat that you report your gain. You have to report all these all the way along. And so it's so vitally important because the last thing you want is to absolutely see some really amazing gains and you're going on, things are fine. And then 2 years after the fact, the IRS is knocking on your door and they're saying, hey, took us a little while, but we just figured this out that you did this and such and what. Guys, there are some amazing programs out there. In fact, one that I like is Coinly, Koinly.io. And look, you can use them for the Her Majesty's Revenue Service in England there. You can use it for Australia, the US, of course, Canada, and a multiplicity. I think they're up to 20 plus countries. And amazingly, you can connect your APIs to all the exchanges and they will suck all that data down and create a report for you so that you don't have the headache of having to do it. It's really not that much, a couple $100 possibly, but considering what you're dealing with, it's well worth it. Then you can take that over to an accountant. Now with an accountant, you want somebody who knows this space because a lot of people are not really considering that when they get staking rewards. So for instance, like Cardano, if you've delegated your Cardano to a staking pool and you're getting rewards from that, those rewards are treated like income, not investment, income. And you have to report the value of it at the time that you received it. Well, these programs like Coinly and that, they're able to see that information and that you can literally link up to MetaMask and everything else, all these platforms, and they can calculate that out for you. And so it's very easy to report. And don't kid yourself, the government's going to require that it be reported because I'll tell you what, with my Cardano, this was amazing. So I had actually put in a certain amount. Well, I staked it the whole time. From staking rewards alone, I made 200% on my original investment. So all the remaining gains that I received in Cardano due to the amount that I got in staking cost me absolutely nothing. It was absolutely mesmerizing. Now, having said that, about staking, because a big question I get, guys, is, hey, listen, where can I stake my XRP? Where should I stake it, on and on? Now, guys, I do believe eventually down the road we will see some major institutional staking platforms that are going to be absolutely 100% secure. Now, right now, excuse me. Right now, we've seen the Voyagers, the Celsius, the BlockFis, and the vulnerability. And unless you can stake your crypto while holding on to your private keys, like you can delegate it on a delegation pool with Cardano or Flare or Songbird, you can do that and still hold your keys. I would not touch staking where I'd have to give up my assets. A decision just came down not too long ago with respect to this bankruptcy for Celsius, and the courts came out and basically said that those folks that actually invested their assets with Celsius no longer have rights of ownership over it. It's insane. But you know what else is really amazing with that when you think about it? When you deposit your money into the bank, you no longer are the genuine owner of that. The bank, you've lent it to the bank and the bank has an IOU to you. And yeah, that's designated by your deposit there. But don't kid yourself. It's truly the banks. And if they wanted to, they could literally close your account, lock you out of it, and you would be fighting tooth and nail over the access and control of your money. That is a true fact. You can look that up. And so you just want to be vigilant when it comes to that. And I know, hey, they are very tempting when you're seeing like 10, 12, 14% and all this kind of stuff in terms of like, yields and rewards and that type of thing. Yeah, it is very tempting. But I'm telling you guys, with these ISO tokens, XLM, XRP, Algorand, Quant, XDC, of course, and different ones like that, the potential value of those things are has such strong potential that I don't think it's worth the risk to get maybe a little 10%, 12%, 20% kickback in staking rewards right now, because these assets, I believe, have the potential to see some explosive growth. And I think we're not done yet seeing some implosions happen along the way. And they have to really make it hurt for them to actually go in and be able to transition this whole space into the the institutional models that are already out there, the Goldman Sachs, the JP Morgan Chases, and all these various trading and banking houses and stuff like that. So just think about that and be vigilant, let me just see. All right. Okay, so that's a great question, Brad. He's saying here, I've noticed that our utility coins seem to always move with Bitcoin and ETH. At what point do you think this will change? Well, Brad, we just saw Hedera Hashgraph, right? Go 35%. That totally didn't move with Bitcoin, right? It just boom, took off, and Bitcoin didn't see that, But the reality is right now, the market mover is still Bitcoin. That is true. And it's because it's the most widely recognized, and of course it had first mover advantage. But I think when you see the global, when they start divvying out central bank digital currencies, and you see global adoption and the banking of the unbanked, and this whole wide world being moved into this new digital economy because the fiat system has totally collapsed and has died and done away with, and I believe it's going to happen very, very soon. Literally, my feeling is it's going to be within the next 3 to 5 years maximum. But needless to say, when you see that happen, I'm telling you, you're going to see a decoupling from these utility tokens and the way in which they're used from just a store of value. Hey, a store of value is one thing. That's like, it's looking like when you're comparing equities to gold. Now, gold is a traditional hedge to store value. It's a protection of purchasing power, not so much an investment, right? Well, look at what equities have done in comparison to gold over time. Equities have blown gold away in most cases, right? Well, that's what I think these utility tokens are going to be to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to be like, a store of value like gold is, but you're going to see some of these utility tokens far surpass the ROI of just putting your money in there for a hedge. I've got a tickly throat here. Just give me a second. Excuse me. Wow. But needless to say, that's what I think we're going to play out. And think of this too. Look, we've got, it's like the Wild West in the terms of like, okay, look how fiat developed. At one point, you had each individual bank being able to issue their own banknotes. And you'd have like 10 or 12 banks in a big city and they'd all have different notes, right? Then that progressed where, they wanted a commonality. And so from that region, they would issue. And then you had states that would issue their own money. And by the way, that's still on the books. States can actually issue their own money. And, then you brought in this whole federal system, and you had the federal dollars and all of that kind of stuff, right? Well, right now you have 27,000 various blockchain technologies out there, and a lot of them are absolutely just redundant, and they don't do the job as good as like the original, one that came and did it. And a lot of them are layer 3s, not even layer 2s as dApps, or, like layer 1s. And the ones that are layer 1s that are kind of the weaker ones, I think we're going to see, what I'm saying there is I think we're going to see a purge in this space. And we may be left with maybe just only a couple hundred or maybe just 100 that really, really perform well. And even out of that 100, you're going to have some that are only that, the top 20, the top 30 that are really going to take the lion's share of this space. It's kind of like real estate, right? There's thousands of realtors out there, but there's about 3% of the realtors are people that actually get the lion's, get 97% of the business goes to 3% of the realtors, and the rest have to divvy up all the rest. I think it's going to be somewhat like that. You're going to see a very, very tight group of these assets, distributed ledger technology asset, take the lion's share of all the global business. Now, will there be others? Yeah, sure there will, but I don't think it's going to be 27,000, that's for sure. Hey, Jason, thank you, man. I am so glad to see you did that and are now at tier 2. So by the way, I named them after Digi, our little avatar there. And so the first one is DigiBit. The second level is DigiByte, and the third level is DigiBark. And I just thought that was cute and fun. And so, hey, I really, really value that. That is fabulous, man. Now, I'm just reading here and just seeing, yeah, that's Mighty Tone, stablecoin. Yeah. All right, let's see. This guy's saying, you just lost me on lying about staking Cardano. Oh, really? What was the lie that I told there? Because the reality is you can stake. And I did. I was buying Cardano, guys, at 3 cents. And I bought like a major amount of tokens. Judy and I, we bought like thousands and multiple thousands of tokens, and I have the actual staking. When we were staking it the whole time, and I made 200% on those out of my original investment. Why? Because not only did I get the staking rewards, but the value of those rewards, because I was paid in ADA, right? My staking rewards came back to me in Cardano. Now I'm not sure if that was directed to me, but remember this, the value of those staking rewards was going up as well. Because, hey, look, ADA, I was getting at 3 cents, went to $3.10, right? So I didn't get 200% from more tokens. I didn't say that. What I said was I made 200% more than my original fiat investment on my staking rewards. And that's because those rewards, the amount of rewards that I got, actually at the end of the day, when it hit those high numbers, was worth 200% more than what I originally put into the investment. That is an absolute fact, and there is no lie. In fact, it's amazing. That is true. So that's how that happened. So just to point that out, I don't need to lie about it. Hey, look, folks are going to believe you or they're not going to believe you guys. Look, you have people in your own families right now that you're going out there and you're talking about this digital asset space and the potential of doing well in it and stuff like that. Well, I remember the same thing back when I was starting out. I was going in and I was telling, my close friends and family about what I saw and the potential, and they're like, yeah. They did not believe me until I came back and I actually had the proof in the pudding and I could show them what the gains were. And you know what they did? They would sit there flabbergasted. Do you think they were paying attention then? Sure they were. They all wanted to know then. But in the beginning, did they want to know? No. How many of you have gone out there and tried to share with your family and friends something that you see and are experiencing, and they're like, yeah, but they just don't believe it. And they literally will say, oh, you lost me there because you're lying. Well, the reality is you weren't lying at all, right? You were telling them the truth. And then when they see it, it's almost like they're almost upset at you because they didn't act on what you shared with them. They come back, well, why didn't you tell? I did tell you. Well, you didn't tell me hard enough. Well, you should have. No, come on, guys. The whole idea is you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. That is a reality. You just have to accept that. There's going to be people who are going to try and poke holes in you. Let them poke their holes. That's okay. The reality is it still happened. It still happened to me. I still saw that 200% gain in the value of the stake of the rewards that I got in ADA. Still happened. So that's all right. All right, let's see. Okay, so this is a good question. And this is Enduro's asking, love to hear your input on keeping money in the banks versus gold and silver, etc. Wow, good question. Now, of course, this is an individual deal, but the thing for me is I am not really trusting that this banking system is genuinely there to kind of protect. Put it this way. They're paying such a measly amount of interest on the money that I would have in there, right? And it doesn't matter, even at the high balances, we're not talking significant, interest that they pay. And yet they have a fractional reserve system that for every dollar I put in, they can go out and they can monetize that up to $100 more, 100% of it. They can maximize it and lend it out at exorbitant rates through their credit card products, some of them up to 30%, through loans, through all these things, through mortgages, and they make a heap of money using our money. And yet, what is the reward we get for keeping it in there? In some cases, the amount of fees, they literally go in the bank to deposit cash and they charge you a service fee to put money in their bank. That is how ridiculously duped we are when they actually are making major money. So the whole fractional banking system, reserve banking system, to me is a complete Ponzi scheme. So I don't really trust it. Now, when it comes to gold and silver, you can buy it in ETFs and all that kind of stuff. Well, we've seen like Scotia Makata get audited, and they found out that they didn't even have the gold that they were supposed to have on reserve to back the exchange traded fund. And so how many out there are like that? So when I buy gold and silver, I want to keep it in my hand. Now remember, this is not an investment. It's a store of value to protect your purchasing power. Think of it like this. So back, before the 1930s, the price of gold was pegged to $20 an ounce. But remember, way back there in the 1800s, $20 could buy you a suit of clothes, a nice suit of clothes, right? In fact, you probably even have some left over. Well, if you took that and you took a $20 bill and you took a $20, eagle and buried them. And after, that you dig it up, that $20 bill, who knows, it could be rotted. But number one, let's say it isn't. It's only going to still be transferable for $20. Even if you brought it back, it's probably better. Its numismatic value is probably worth more than, the $20. But needless to say, you go into the bank, you're only getting 20. Now, what about that gold coin? Well, that gold coin is going to be worth what? About $2,000 or something like that, somewhere in the neighborhood. It's appreciated in value, and it's still going to buy you a nice suit and a good meal and probably a rental car and a night in a hotel and on and on and on, right? So you've seen that it's a store of value when it comes to purchasing power, not really an investment. That's kind of how I look at gold. and that type of thing. Joel's asking, is Decent a good cold storage wallet? I think it is, especially for XDC and for Flare and Songbird. And it is really easy to use. It's biometric, so literally your finger has to be on the trigger, so to speak. And it really is, the application makes it almost just child's play, really, in terms of being able to transact with some of these ecosystems. So for me, yes, I think Decent is a good one. Now, having said that, guys, I know a lot of these hardware wallets are available on Amazon, and they even have like Ledger stores, Decent stores, and all that kind of stuff. For me, and this is my peace of mind, I buy it direct from the manufacturer. Now, do I have to wait 2 or 3 days longer to get it? Okay, sure. Yeah, I have to wait 2 or 3 days longer to get it. Ledger, it was coming from France, and I'm not exactly sure where Decent, I think, was coming from Korea. But needless to say, when I got it, I felt very secure about that purchase because these things have been known to be tampered with and the hardware fuddled around with, so much so that when somebody has had it for many, many months and then there's accumulated a big amount, literally have logged on and boom, all their assets have been gone. So for me, when I go to buy these things, I buy them direct from the manufacturer. I really hope that helps you out there, and if you did buy it off Amazon, look, go and validate it and all that kind of stuff. Perhaps, I don't want to incite any kind of, fear into anybody. That's not the point of saying that. I'm talking to folks that have never gone out and bought one yet or are questioning whether or not, the one that they got is good or not. Well, then, hey, peace of mind, go get it from the manufacturer. It can't hurt, right? Just a few more days waiting for it. That's all. Okay. Let's just take a look here. Yes, I can tell you, Bob, how to find your transaction history on Coinbase Pro. Works the same. So what you want to do is you want to go into where your icon is, where your, the little, where it says that, hey, this is your account, and you drop that down, and underneath there, you're going to find a tab that says reports, and you can go in there. And by the way, those same reports are available on Coinbase, the regular Coinbase. Your Coinbase Pro activity is available on regular Coinbase. And another thing is you don't have to have a separate sign-in for Coinbase Pro or Coinbase. It's the same login info and all that, and the same 2FA and all that. Anyway, that's where you go to get that info. Or at least that's been my experience. Yeah, and Gomes is right. There is a tab especially for taxes. Yep, absolutely. Hey, Lori, your Ledger Nano didn't lose your Songbird. Now, it may have, but my guess is what happened is when you transferred your Songbird to Nano or whatever, it is sitting on a Ethereum wallet. And what you actually need to do is probably try to get in through. Now, there's a whole big mechanism for doing this, and it's a lot more lengthier conversation than just over a live stream. But there are ways to get that SGB back. Unless you were legitimately hacked and it was stolen, or you interacted. Now you might be able to interact with it with MetaMask and get it that way, or at least see it that way. You have to actually put in the RPC and the various things for that network, and it probably would show up and you might see it there. So there is possibilities, and perhaps, and by the way, when you guys are going out there looking for help, don't just go to anybody. There's a lot of folks that sound very well-meaning, and you go out there and you're starting to get help from these people. And by and by, you build, they've got your trust and things like that, and you end up getting really, really hurt. So it's so vitally important, to take about that. Oh yeah, hey Mandalay, I really like that. Hit the like button, people. Either on the way in, the way out. You're right. Subscribers are fantastic because it gets the feed out to people that are, if they set the notification. But and it was Crypto Lulu that clued me into this. The real thing that moves these videos through the ecosystem is the like button. Now, I thought that the like button was, hey, I like this. I'm going to just say, here's my vote of appreciation or thanks, whatever. But it's that like button that the algorithm pays the most attention to and getting these videos out and pushing them out to a broader and broader, audience. And so please, hit that like button and get that out there. It'll be really, really appreciated. That's for sure. Hey, I really appreciate that, DB, that you would come back. That takes a lot of character, man, that you would come back and redress that comment. That shows a lot, and I value that. You're right. It does. Perhaps I should have been more clear when I said I made that 200%. I wasn't talking about 200% of my total ADA bag. I was talking about my initial fiat investment resulted in a 200% gain because the value of the ADA rewards that I received equaled 200% more than my original fiat investment. But I will say this. A lot of people don't come out and take the time to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I was a little hasty there in saying this or this or that. And I do appreciate the fact that you came in and said that. That is really a lot of respect for that. Yeah, Best Buy. Now, Gord, you buying a Ledger now, these are genuinely sent to Best Buy through, Ledger. They're coming from the manufacturer. They're going through the transport thing. But I want you to think of this. How many hands are touching those devices? Like in the warehouse, in the trucks, in the back room at Best Buy with all these techies and that. And there's, it doesn't cost too much to get all the stuff necessary to re-shrink wrap stuff and make it look like it's just pristine as can be. And so it's not, I don't want to instill any kind of anxiety in you there, Gord, but the only thing I think about when I think about that is I want the fewest amount of hands touching it as possible. So when I order from the manufacturer, even employees at the plant could be fooling around with it, right? But the likelihood is they're under video surveillance. My chances are it's mostly also machines that are putting these things together and packaging them, and the likelihood of it being tampered with at the plant is low. And then, of course, if it's being shipped from the plant, well, the shipper comes, picks it up. They have a department that wraps it all up, puts it out there. It's in the mail. Boom! It doesn't go to a warehouse. It doesn't go to this. Doesn't go to that. And so for me, it's just keeping as few hands on it as possible. That's the deal there. So, and it's not that Best Buy or, because I'm sure Best Buy, as an organization is doing its level best to keep everything secure. But there's always going to be bad actors, that, hey, they get a job for minimum wage and get 2 or 3 of them in agreement. They go back in there and they do their thing. Who knows? I mean, the loss prevention is in there, but still, it's just keeping as little hands on it as possible. No. You can store your Hedera Hashgraph hey, Jason, thank you so much. You can store your Hedera Hashgraph on Ledger. Now, the way in which to do it, you can go to Ledger and let me just see if I can help you with this. I'll even go here, type it in. And I will post these instructions right into the comments. Now, I followed these right to the letter. And this is how I did it, and I've even helped people do this and get their assets, their HBAR off an exchange and and by the way, it works through Ledger Live even. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this link. Okay, and I am going to put it into our chat here for all those who want to look at it. So here is the link for putting HBAR on your Ledger Nano X, Ledger Nano S, and you can do it. And so it can make a big, big difference. Now, hey, DWB, buying it direct from Trezor website itself. Excellent. And Trezor is a good wallet, to be sure. And there's a lot of good ones out there. Absolutely. And so, yes, Simon, you're right. And what I just posted there just shows you how the walkthrough. Now, you follow that through, click the supporting links and all that. It'll help you be able to set up your first HBAR wallet type of thing and how to connect that so it shows up on Ledger Live. I did it. And then after you've done that, you don't have to worry about it. I've actually put my Hedera Hashgraph on a Ledger as well, and it can really, really You don't have to be going out there. Hey, now it doesn't hurt to have multiple wallets. Let's be honest, right? I have multiple ledgers and I have a decent wallet and all that too. And having those devices, I'm telling you, look, one of the best feelings I've ever had is this. You know how when you go into your bank and you have to give them an explanation of why you're taking the money out or this or that, or if let's say you want to send, a family member a few $1,000 or whatever, you got to go through this big song and dance. And then of course the bank charges you a big fee. And then their receiving bank charges a big fee. And you have to wait multiple days to get it. The beauty of a ledger device is you can put your XLM, your XRP and all that on there. And anytime, day or night, you can go online and you can send the value of that asset around the world to somebody that you want to have it. And within seconds, they've got it. Now listen, is XRP and XLM and some of these other assets, are they like money? Well, of course it is. Monetary instrument has to have three factors, right? They have to be a store of value. They have to have a unit of account, right? And they have to be a medium of exchange. Well, hey, we do know that XRP is a store of value. You can store the value of your fiat in XRP. And is it divisible? Is it a unit of account? Well, of course it is, because you can get 1 million drops into one XRP. And so it's very divisible, much more divisible than fiat is. Now, is a medium of exchange? Yep. You can use your XRP to transact today. In fact, people are legitimately receiving their salaries in the United States being paid in XRP to the value of them. That's an absolute fact. And you can use it in your payroll systems. People are buying and selling and they're transacting for goods and services in XRP. So does XRP satisfy what a monetary instrument is? Yes. Now, having said that, it brings me to something else. As we know, hey, Rudy, thank you so much. As we know, a big issue in this space is the privacy issues surrounding central bank digital currencies. Well, guys, I think we're going to have two tiers of people. You're going to have people that are going to be locked into the central bank digital currency. The fiat that they have is all going to be converted, and that's the way it's going to be. But those of us that have stepped out into this digital asset space, we're going to be able to transact in our XRP or our XLM. We're not necessarily going to only have the central bank digital currency to transact in or any kind of a stablecoin system. We're going to be able to transact in these native assets. And that is a big deal. Why? Because it provides liberty and the protection of our privacy. Because if they do take privacy away from us in utilizing these central bank digital currencies, then we have an alternate method to ensure. And this is not about hiding stuff because we're up to no good. This is about our liberty. It's about having that sovereign individual control of what is valuable in your life. Look, it may not even be, hey, look, how many girls out there, and we know this, hey, they want to hide their age. They want everybody and their dog knowing how old they are and all this and that. Well, is that like, oh, they're up to no good? Because no, there is a big difference between privacy and secrecy. And by the way, are you allowed to keep some secrets? Sure you are. That is a human right. My wife and I, we share things just between us, not our children, not our parents. Nobody else knows. Why? Because that relationship has a level of intimacy and secrecy that gives it value. And there's a level of closeness there. Now, for saying that, you need to keep your circle small, right? And of course, you have a broad circle out here of people that you interact with, people that you kind of have commonality with and you like. And then you have a little closer circle, right? Inside that circle. And there's a few people that get in there that, people that get in there, friends, associate, colleagues at work, whatever. Then you have a little bit of a smaller circle, like, second cousins, and, that kind of stuff. And they know a bit more than other folks do. Then you have an even smaller circle. You're a close, tight-knit family and friends, your mom, your dad, your kids, your brother, your sister kind of thing. And then you have that really tight into where that one person in your life knows every secret, every tool in the toolbox, everything in your closet. And by the way, loves you just the same. Isn't that fantastic? When you can actually be yourself. We all want to be that around somebody and let, as it were, your hair down and they accept you just as you are and you know that you're loved. Wow. Big. And what does that give us, guys? That gives us security, right? Do we feel secure with the government knowing absolutely everything about our lives to a level of intimacy that only maybe our partner should know? Absolutely no way. I'm not going to give that. And does that mean that I'm a bad guy, that I'm trying to hide something? No, it just means that, hey, I am setting some boundaries in my life that are healthy for the security of who I am. And you need to do that too. And by the way, that lines up with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Those security issues. I can understand why people are struggling with all kinds of anxiety and insecurity these days, because they're being raped in terms of their individual personal security and liberty. And it makes a person feel very vulnerable, right? And that's why we need to get out there and make sure that these people we have elected to actually go do a job, that if they're not doing that job, brother, we should be recalling a lot of them, but they need to be out there representing you and I for what these nations stood for in the first place: a government for the people and one by the people. Now, that is not just being on a political soapbox. That is talking about character, integrity, the constitution of who we are. It's not just the constitution that was written down in the United States. It's the constitution of your soul. Don't trade it just for, look, I'm not sure if it was Benjamin Franklin or Thomas Jefferson, but he made a famous quote. He said, "Those that will give up their liberty for security deserve neither." Don't trade your personal liberty for what, some WEF says, "Oh, we'll give you universal basic income for the rest of your life, but you have to bow down and practically worship us to get it. And if you don't, we're going to cut you off, and that's it for you. We're going to ostracize you from the camp." I'm telling you, we've been down this road before, and it has been devastating. I'm going to say this. Real socialism, for what it really is, has put more people in the grave than any other religious or political system that has ever existed in the history of mankind. And that is a genuine fact. You can look it up. And you think of what Stalin did to the Ukrainians, right? Back in the day, literally, there was the bread basket of Europe. And what did he do? He had them make all the grain, grow all the grain, but he starved 12 million people to death, and it only took him less than 1 year to do it. That's what can go on when you have unchecked, unabated authority. And we got to protect ourselves from that. And by the way, let's be honest, this digital asset space started out on a mandate of libertarianism, of protecting our liberties and protecting our financial futures. And you read the white paper and all that was meant to be. That is really what it was all about. And that is the mandate we have today. Now, can we work in unison with the old rails? I think it's prudent that we do. But when we do, we move out there to transition those old rails and bind them with really some of these libertarian principles that give mankind a greater opportunity to have an equal level playing field and see some wealth distributed around the world in a way that does not encroach on the liberty of humanity. Now, the WEF, from what I can gather, the stuff that's coming out of there, hey, you got to eat bugs. They want to take away your coffee. Oh, man, I'll tell you. Hey, someone wrote and said, "Oh, hilarious. You're talking about a revolution over coffee." And I wrote back, "Well, didn't we have one over tea?" But the reality is, they want you to be able to not own anything and be happy, not even own your own vehicle, this and that, while they fly around in private jets and live a lifestyle that is absolutely obscene. And it's just crazy. And some of the parties and stuff, the debauchery is just mammoth. And when you see that, you're thinking, okay, these are the people I want to follow, that have absolutely no self-discipline, no character, will give to want of whatever their flesh desires. No, thank you very much. I'd rather have little, like the scripture says, better to have little and peace of mind than have great wealth and be filled to the nth degree with anxiety, right? No, thank you. Right? So, and there's all kinds of great little proverbs out there like that. But okay, don't want to get too far down that road, but I'm just saying that is vitally important for us in this space. Yeah, Simon, you'll own nothing and be happy. Well, sorry to say, look, there is something wonderful about private ownership, right? I want to give an example of this in a big way. So I want you to take a look at this pen. Now, this pen here, Maybe it's worth about what, 10 or 15 cents, but I want you to just imagine something about this pen. Imagine that this pen is what my grandfather wrote his last words to me on. Now, it wasn't, but I'm just saying, let's imagine it was. Now, for most folks, it has absolutely no value. Literally, it's a disposable pen. It's made to throw away. Get that? And when the ink runs dry, people throw it out. But for me, I don't care if the ink is ran dry or whatever, because why? There's a value associated with this because of the meaning behind it. Now, who gets to ascribe value? Well, obviously, it's the person who owns it. Now, I want you to think of something else. Who owned you? Who made you? Who created you? Who determines your worth? It's your maker, not your master. In the sense of not your overlords. They don't get to tell you what you're worth. You were created with some divine principles of value and worth. And I'm telling you, brothers, he and sisters, people out there, he decided we were worth it when he gave us his very best, right? And he says he came to seek and to save that which was lost. He didn't have to do that, but he said, you're worth it to me. Now, are we deserving? Hey, maybe not. Most likely not. But we were worth it to him. And that's where you've got to see your value. It's not arrogance, right? It's not arrogance. It's a different kind of pride. It's dignity. It's dignity. Who am I on the inside? No one, they can't even beat that out of you, man. They cannot beat that out of you. Why? Because integrity is a gift you give yourself and nobody can take it from you. The only way they can get it is if you give it up. Right? And that is where the constitution of your character comes into play. Like Martin Luther King said, that when you're judged by the constitution, the content of your character. Now think about that. Now I love that movie Braveheart. And in that last scene there, before he's going to be executed, he says, to the princess there, he says, look, every man dies, but not every man really lives. And the truth of the matter is, that is such a profound statement. Why? Because a lot of people can have amazing wealth in life and still not have lived life. Absolutely consumed by what they hold. Because what they hold holds them, right? We have dreams and we have goals for our financial futures, to be sure. But look, a lot of us can achieve some of those goals right now. A lot of us have a goal that you ask them, well, why do you want to be financially independent? Well, I want more time with your family. You know what? That's something you can have today. Take it. Make sure you make it a priority. Hey, we all only have so much time in a day. And I know we've heard this before, but the reality is a lot of us haven't employed it. We bought into the lie that we have to be constantly 100% entertained. Otherwise, life is kind of boring. That is such hogwash. I sit out there sometimes in my backyard. My wife and I will sit in the front porch, and all we do is sit there and listen to the wind blow, watch the leaves move, or the birds sing. And I'm telling you what, the pleasure I get out of that, man, money can't buy. That is a fact. And you don't have to be rich to enjoy that. Go to a public park, take your kid out there, kick a ball, do whatever. It's one way to get off of this emotional roller coaster that they want us to be on in this constant treadmill of making money or not making money. And everybody has an opinion over everything. Hey, I'm not even saying those opinions aren't valid, but do they add to the conversation or do they take away? Are they worthwhile or are they not? And that's the great benefit of that personal security and liberty. You get to decide what's meaningful for you. And hey, you get to invest that into somebody else. Anybody who's been a parent, what a privilege, right? Because you literally have in the very palms of your hand a life that you have the ability to shape. And remember this, sometimes it's not when you sit down and talk to them. The greatest messages that are conveyed are when they're watching you and you don't even know it. That's when the greatest messages are conveyed. And believe you me, they're watching. Guaranteed. This next generation is watching what this generation will do. And we have got to stand up. And I don't mind when people call me a boomer or all that kind of stuff. Because I'll tell you what, we were a generation of doers. Generation of doers. And we don't go for a lot of this, soft talky way of saying things. Now there's nice ways to say stuff, right? There is. But the reality is this, it's like, the tolerance for a debate or to even talk about a subject. People go wild. They lose their ever-loving minds talking about an issue when all it is, hey, remember, keep focus on the issue. forget, rather than tear down the person, tear down the argument. That's what I say. And in fact, as far as that goes, I'd rather lose the argument and save the relationship any day. That's for sure. Anyway, so let me just take a look here. I want to catch. So, what are some great questions? Okay. Yay! Lori, I am so happy. Lori just wrote, you were right. I just used MetaMask and found my songbird. Thank you. Well, Lori, there you go. I'm really happy that that worked for you. And you weren't out there getting vulnerable advice and people saying, oh, by the way, send me your 24-word seed phrase. I'll get your, that kind of stuff. That's great. Yeah, Jerry, you're absolutely right. The guy killed 9 million. It is so sad. Now, hey, that might have been his, by the way, I might say that may have been his background heritage, but let's not paint everybody by the same. Let's judge a man for a man, not an entire group of people for a man, because the reality is those things happen with all. There have been tyrants in practically every racial group there is. There's a tyrant in all of them, right? I mean, look at, even that movie, like when we were talking about, well, look at the Middle Ages. Look at what they did, the torture devices that they invented to kill people. It's amazingly crazy, but the reality is, we live in a fallen world. I mean, you don't have to teach a child to be bad, right? I mean, come on, anybody that's been a parent knows that. The kid figures that out all on its own. We have to instill character in kids. Well, why is that? Well, that's because you got a fallen nature going on, man. And there's a war going on. And that's where, hey, look, any discipline, when we go through and I share this in my coaching, but the reality is I learned a very profound lesson in my life. And it was this. I was separated from my first wife. We were going through a divorce, and I was a buddy of mine had an insurance shop, and he was moving, and he comes over to my house. He brings over this fax machine. I'm like, what do I need a fax machine for? So I went and I took this fax machine, and I went and I sold it at a pawn shop, and I brought home with me this Yamaha guitar. Now I knew that I was going to have to learn where to put my fingers on the guitar, right? What I did not know is how much pain was going to be involved in doing that. Because as I was playing this thing, the longer I played it, the sore and sore the tips of my fingers got, to the point where they cracked and bled, and eventually they had to build up a little cap. And I was feeling at the time, I'm never going to learn how to play this thing, but I just stuck with it. And what ended up happening is, as I literally one day, I went and I picked up my guitar in the songbook, and as I went to look to put my fingers, they just went where they needed to go. And I had developed this muscle memory. Well, what I learned from that experience is this: when you're trying to apply any real change in your life, whether it's learning to play an instrument or any kind of other discipline in your life, there's some pain involved. But if you stick with it long enough, guys, it becomes effortless. You have discipled yourself. You've worked that discipline in, and then you bring it to the next level. And then you deal with that and you bring it to, and say, hey, this level may have only took this long. This one might take a little longer. This one might take a little longer, but you're moving up the stairs. You're growing. You're changing. You're becoming somebody that somebody else can follow in those foot. That is the process of discipleship. Regardless how you want to call it, you've got to incorporate some self-disciplines in your life. Now, this present, situation in the world today is like, hey, have everything you want, and that's why people are overweight. That's why people have lack of discipline. That's why, emotionally, a lot of people are struggling with anxieties because they have not learned how to discipline their mind and not allow those thoughts to take them way down roads that they really don't want to go. And of course, you feel very vulnerable. But my encouragement is this: you can start to change today. And the difference between those that succeed and those that don't is resolve. Do you want it? Do you want it bad enough? That's what it comes down to. And so when we think about that and we think about this space, why are folks getting shaken out all the time? Because they're listening to 1,001 messages and they haven't built up the conviction of what they hold inside themselves. That's why I encourage people to peel that onion back. Learn about these things yourself. You will be blown away at what you see. Yes, YouTube is great, but you're hearing my 100% biased opinion. Let's be honest, right? But that's there, and the enthusiasm you see is real because I've went out and did my research. I've experienced it. I've been there. I'm sharing with you. It's like going on an amazing vacation and coming back and sharing it with folks. Oh my gosh, wait till you see this. You got to go see that. You got to do this. And I'm like, why is this person so excited? Because you just had the trip of your lifetime, right? And you're sharing your enthusiasm with people. Now, some are going to be excited by that and some won't. But the ones that are excited, hey, it's not just going to be what you say, but they're going to go out and try this out and try that. Maybe they're going to go there themselves and experience it for themselves. Now, what they do that, are they believing it because you told them about it? No, they're believing it because they've experienced it for themselves. And the best answers, the ones that you are going to have the most conviction of and believe the most, are the ones you find for yourself. I guarantee that it is going to make such a big difference in your life. And you're not going to be like a cork on the sea where every little wave that comes up and emotion and all this they're not going to be able to shake you out. How about that? How about that? Oh, DWB. My perfect crypto dinner has David, Lulu, Tease, and Zach Rector at the table. Boy, I'll tell you what, if we can all get to the winner circle together and we can actually have a get together, I would love that. That would be absolutely amazing. Yes, I agree. Let's just take a look. So, Jean Brault writes, 431 days to the next halving. Mark my word, we will see the biggest bull run in the crypto world ever. Yeah, I agree. I think we will. I think this one is going to be moved in big ways, and utility is going to be absolutely paramount. It is going to really blow people's minds. And I'm telling you guys, you know what? With all these people that have come in and they poo-pooed you and they won't listen, they don't give you the time of day. There's a time coming, man, well, they will literally line up for 15 minutes of your time. Why? Because they're going to ask you a couple questions and say, how in the world did you know? And you're going to be able to tell them how you knew and what you experienced. And, they're going to come back. Some of them, ones that believe, they're going, why didn't you tell me that? And you're going to say, yeah, I tried to tell you. You just wouldn't listen. Well, I'm listening now. Well, be generous to them, guys. Share what you know then, right? But there's also going to become those coming to you that are going to be either like kind of jealous or, wow, blah, 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 because there's always the critic. There's always the skeptic. And be generous with them too, because the reality is, they're going through whatever they're going through because that's emotionally where they're at. And you don't have to like stomp on somebody that stomps on you all the time. That's the whole turn the other cheek deal, right? And you do that with meekness. Is not being a doormat where you just I'm not saying let people wipe their feet all over you that have treated you badly and are going to treat you even worse when you succeed. But what I am saying is this: look, you treat it with a grain of salt. You don't have to slash back or whatever. You do it in kindness, and then you just leave it. Like, you can only make up your mind. You can't make up anybody else's, that's for sure. But you can decide how you're going to treat people as a result. And I've learned how to do that. And yeah, does my flesh get tested? Woo, yeah, of course it does. I can feel it bubbling up in me. And sometimes, unfortunately, Judy might hear it and the rest of you don't. But the reality is, and we have to have a place to vent. A safe place to vent, but it's wisdom to know, hey, where is that place? And what is that? Is it social media where the whole wide world can, where you just kind of like literally tear open your heart and let the whole world see everything inside? No, that's not a safe place to do that, but in reality, what do you show? You have to have your resolve. And I'm telling you, the day is coming when people are going to come back to you and you are going to be able to say so much. It's going to be fantastic, and something truly that we're all looking for, that's for sure. So Jeffrey Nelson has set up here, let's hope Nasara is becoming a reality. I believe it. Look, you know this whole thing about Nasara, Jasara, where the debt forgiveness and all that. Guys, I genuinely believe in debt forgiveness. I believe in the reality of it. Why? Because this was instituted way, way, way back there in the Old Testament and biblical days. And you know what? For all those people that poo-poo God, God was the first one that came out with debt forgiveness. He asked them to establish a year of Jubilee. And of course it was going to be jubilous because everything was going to get reverted right back to zero and people were going to have this debt forgiveness. And once every 50 years, there was a year of Jubilee, a great celebration where the whole debt clock got reset. And so, hey, is a reset biblical? Is it something that we should look at? Absolutely. Debt forgiveness didn't come from mankind. That came out of the heart of God, believe it. And so I really do believe in debt forgiveness. Now, does the WEF and all those guys, are they talking about real debt forgiveness, or are they just talking about trading that debt? We'll wipe away your debt if you do everything we say from now on until the day you die, or we tell you when it's time to die. Well, that's not debt forgiveness, guys. That's just changing the debt from a monetary instrument to indentured servitude and slavery, right? That's not debt. Debt forgiveness is, I release you from it, no obligation, and you just go your way and enjoy your life. That's debt forgiveness. These guys are like that unmerciful servant there, who owed like $10 million, and the king brings him in to pay, and he's like, you better pay up or I'm throwing you and your whole household into slavery. And he begs, oh, please, beg. And the king forgives him. Then he walks out the door. He's walking down the street. He sees a guy that owes him $50, and he grabs him by the collar and shakes him. I want my $50. Give me my $50. And the guy doesn't have it, so he has him thrown in prison. Well, that word got back to the king, and the king calls the guy back in. What on earth? I just forgave you millions and millions of dollars, and you couldn't even forgive your neighbor $50? Well, I'll tell you what, that debt's back on the books and blah, blah, blah. That's the unmerciful servant. Well, these big banker types, they want the government to absolve them of all of these massive bad investments and debts and everything like that. And then they turn around and foreclose on the poor guy who was a truck driver but lost his job because the economy went down the toilet, the very economy that these guys manipulated and played around with till it absolutely crashed and blew up. And then they go after this guy and have him put out on the street. It's absolutely insane, and it's got to come to an end at some point. And let's hope that this next digital asset system provides a level playing field where we have an opportunity like this country, the American dream and all that. It's like, now it's like, it's not the American dream. It's kind of like the, the American fairy tale, because how many people get to really live the American dream? That wasn't the way it was meant to be, guys. So, hey, hopefully digital assets are going to really turn that around. I really hope. All right. Well, this is not a video on the weekend. This is a once, because AC3 Venom is saying, hey, I thought no videos on the weekends. And hey, normally we don't have videos on the weekends. But when we celebrate a milestone, it happens on a Saturday. And I take that extra time out away from my family so that I can actually pour into the community. And to me, there's value. There's a value there. I'm really saying, hey, look, my family is saying, hey, David, we understand. Take that time out and just go share this celebration with the people that have subscribed to you and stuff like that. And so that's why I do that, and that's what's going on. So yeah, you're right, Eric. Absolutely. This is the deal with that. So DWB saying, if the banks forgave that, wouldn't that drive bad behavior? Well, it could for some. But then I think what we need to do is to look at this whole financial system, because right now, of course, it's a debt-driven economy, right? And so you walk into Target, you walk into Walmart, you walk into Costco. Hey, you have a credit card. What we need to do is rein that back in. Right? So debt and having that credit availability is not so easily obtained. Your debt's forgiven, you're back to zero, but hey, the ability to just go out and get into a mountain of debt again is not so easy, right? Not so easy anymore. And in fact, what we need to do is instill in people of building wealth and saving and that delayed gratification of, putting it aside and stuff like that. Now, rather than, hey, you have it now and then you pay for it later, which is absolutely crazy. And in fact, it works in a way like this. A kid comes in and he says to the bank, look, I'm 19. I'd like to buy, borrow $5,000 so I can pick up a used truck. And the banking officer like, oh, no, it's too risky for us to get. Same kid could go into the bank next week, talk to the same banking officer, say, hey, can you lend me $100 and some thousand so I can go to mechanic school? Sure, sign up right here. Why? Because they want that kid graduating and coming into the economy where he's going to earn an income, but they want him to start out in the hole. And that should not be. There should be mechanisms, because what happens is the institution gets all their money up front and all this kind of stuff. And what does the bank have to do? Well, the bank is charging interest. By the time that debt's paid off, it's 15, 20 years later. And it's 3 times as much as what was borrowed. It's insane. Why don't they have it set up so a person can go to school and, or get to a place where they can put so much in? It should not cost what it costs for people to get. When my ex-wife, when I put her through university, it cost $6,000 to put her through the University of Alberta to get a 4-year education degree. That same degree now would be over 100 and some grand. That is absolutely obscene. And it's to keep the young people and to keep this debt engine going. It's fuel for the system, and the system has to be totally changed. So absolutely, I agree. We need to be, we need to see some kind of a change in the system where, yeah, we can start over, we can wipe that out, but there is going to be a new paradigm and how people earn wealth and achieve various things. But, that's where I really think, and that's where good hard work gets rewarded. Because in a lot of cases, good hard work now doesn't get rewarded. There are people out there sitting outside of the workforce, doing nothing, wanting universal basic income, where other people are motivated to go out there and actually work for their living, right? Is that fair that this person over here, and by the way, this one over here, because they do have a job, they don't qualify for government-assisted dental, medical, and on and on. Where this person who has absolutely no job is not handicapped. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about people that are handicapped, but doesn't have any job and providing nothing, and yet they get all the benefits. There's something out of balance there, guys. And for those that are struggling emotionally, a lot of this stuff that is being designated as mental illness is not genuine mental illness, it's more emotional illness. Let's build the infrastructure in there to provide them with support and integrate them back into the workforce. Not just say, oh, here, I guess it's too tough for you. You just sit over there and take all this medication and blah, 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 and never heal. Look, I'm not talking about people who are genuinely sick, because I do believe there is a time frame that needs to be given for people to get genuinely emotionally healed, and we need to treat them with dignity and compassion and love. But the goal should be to get them back on their own feet so that they're standing up and they're not falling down, and we're not just keeping them in a perpetual state of, being dependent upon a system. And that is no favor to anybody, guys. It just keeps a person at a place where they don't grow to their maximum potential. Now, that's what I believe, right? So we'll see what happens. Anyway. Oh, I appreciate that, Jeffrikins. We don't just come here for crypto knowledge, but we love to be here for positive energy and wisdom. You truly have attracted the best community. It is a great community. Man, I have been so blessed by this community and the people and the comments and the support. It truly has really had a major impact on me. And guys, I want to say this. When I think of each person out there and I'm looking at the comments, oftentimes I'm trying to read between the lines, and I pray and ask the Holy Spirit to give me some discernment and things like that, because I want to see each and every one of you, the naysayers along with the yaysayers. It really doesn't matter. I want to see you at your absolute best and to succeed. I'm for you. I'm not competing with anybody. I'm really out there to try to see this space grow in a positive way and to really see the majority of folks to come up and actually really move forward in their own individual lives. And, and I genuinely lift and pray for you guys as a community. I do. Now, maybe some of you think, well, that's a little crazy. But you know what? For me, I believe there's a statement that says the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Now, when I say righteous, I don't mean perfect. What I mean is someone who's trying to have a right relationship with God. And that for me comes through Christ. Well, guys, I try to put some action to that and hold each and every one of you up. Now, some of you are going to agree with that and some of you aren't. And I'll tell you what, that is A-okay. I am not against, hey, you don't have to agree with me. And that I don't mind that at all. But let's not, in the process, try to tear each other down because of it. Hey, they say out there, let's celebrate our differences, right? And on those things that we can agree, hey, let's rejoice on that. On the things we disagree, then fine. I accept that there's difference there. And on top of that, can I not celebrate somebody else's differences? Because their differences could be where I need some strength, right? Maybe my difference is a weakness and their differences is a strength, and we can draw that from one another. I love that song, Lean on Me, right? Why? Because at some point in time, I'm going to need somebody to lean on too. That is a reality of who we are as human beings. And if people want to say that Jesus is my crutch, well, that's okay. Because for me, I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. That's how I look at it. And hey, I love this statement. Someone says, when they think about God, they think, well, I probably, I really let him down, by this, and this. Hey, the reality is we're not holding him up. He's holding us up. Pretty hard to disappoint somebody who knows everything about you from cradle to grave, right? So that's kind of how I think about it. And you just got to treat yourself with grace. The reality is we're not going to make every call. Not everything I say is going to be correct. Look at that video I just did the other day about Jacinda Ardern. Now, yeah, she's retiring, but I was totally taken in by that meme, and those guys were and I was saying, man, it looks like they're celebrating the World Cup. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I genuinely appreciate it. The way in which you guys came out and let me know you did it in such a good humored way and say, hey, David, that's a meme. That didn't really happen. Well, I was taken in. I thought it really did happen. But, it was really great to see it. And you got to be able to laugh at yourself from time to time too, right? So that's not a problem for me. I'm not going to say everything perfectly, and neither are you. But the thing is, sometimes I'm going to get some things right and sometimes not. Hey, Michael Jordan said this, and I really like this statement. He said, I missed every shot I didn't take. Now, that doesn't mean he made every shot he did take, but 100% he missed every one he didn't take. Take the shot. Give it a shot. Give it a try. You'll be surprised. Sometimes you're going to get it right in the hoop. Boom, 3-pointer right there. And other times you're not. But, sitting in life and just not taking the shot because you think you're going to miss it or you believe you're going to miss it, so you're not even going to try. Well, come on. That's just cheating yourself out of some real amazing possibilities. At least that's my 2 cents on that. And I'm some 55, sorry, or old-year-old boomer guy. And, I've learned a few things in life. And, that's just one of the things I've learned. And and other people had to help teach me those things too. Believe it, I didn't learn it all by myself. Truth is, guys, no one succeeds in isolation. Nobody. I don't care who you are. Nobody succeeds in isolation. You either had a parent or a teacher or a friend or a colleague, or you watched and observed somebody else's mistakes and you learn from them, or whatever. Nobody ever succeeds in isolation. And hey, I haven't heard this said in a long, long time, but I remember the days when we would actually espouse this as something noble. Hey, united we stand and divided we fall. And what do you think these powers that be, these WEF guys are trying to do? They're trying to polarize us. They're trying to get us divided, so it's easier for them to conquer us. And we got to be united, not tearing each other down for our differences, but holding each other up for the things that we agree on. We all are loving crypto. Now, we all may approach the world differently, but hey, we're here in this space because we believe in it together and we have a big hope for what it's going to do tomorrow. And that's where I think we need to be supporting one another in a big, big way. Let's just take a look here. Wow, I really agree with this. Livsinjatar, I hope I got that right. Serge says, don't keep crypto on exchange sites. Just a friendly reminder. Absolutely fabulous advice. Use an exchange for what an exchange is for, buying and selling. Don't store your stuff on there. If you're getting into this space, you owe it to yourself to go out there and get a hardware wallet. Just like when you started earning money, what did you do? You went and bought yourself a wallet, and to keep it in, well, get a wallet. Keep it in there. Don't keep it on the exchanges, because a lot of these exchanges we don't get to see behind closed doors. Who would have ever expected FTX to go down? And people were singing about the self-custody issue long before the FTX thing happened. Why? Because they got stung way back when in Mount Gox, right? And learnt their lesson fast. And that's why people developed these hardware wallets, right? So that we could actually store our own digital assets. There we go. I can't wait till we have that XRP party as well. Zum wallet? Yes, Jason, that Zum wallet is really, really great. Now, having said that, it's its functionality that is amazing. I really, really love that wallet. Now, there are some things that you really need to study to get to know, because there's areas about the Zum wallet that are very highly technical. And you can do a lot of things on the Zum wallet that you can't do on other wallets. Now, you want to just be vigilant about your security, of course, because you're interacting with that thing online. But it has some amazing functionalities. Now, I get that. I only utilize it for various things, or have utilized it for various things, like putting trust lines on there and things like that. But, in terms of my storage of tokens that I want to store, now you can use the Zum wallet to put some XRP into escrow and stuff like that for yourself. And you can even set it up almost like a trust. So if you have a bunch in there you want to leave to your kids and have so much divvied out per year, you can do it like that. It's really amazing. But remember that you utilize it as a tool, a function of what you want to do. In terms of your storage, I'd still keep that on a hardware wallet. No, I would never. Now, I understand the staking on the exchange, but remember this: when you're staking on the exchange, AC3 Venom is asking, like I used to stake Polkadot over there on Kraken. But the reality is, when you're staking it on, maybe it's a better platform than some of these other staking protocols, but you still don't hold your keys. And the reality is, if something happened with that exchange, whether you're staking it in there or not, boom, you don't have it, right? And you don't have to look too far for that. We saw some that did that. People were staking there on FTX, and what happened? They lost the ability to have their crypto when it went down. So there is vulnerability. Remember, there's a trade-off. You're either trading your security for these high-level interests, or you're not, you're avoiding those interests, and you're just holding. To me, I look at these ISO tokens as being long-term, extremely high value down the road. I really believe that. So is it going to matter to me right now whether I get 20% on it, when down the road I could be looking at tens of thousands of percents? Remember with Cardano and I saw over 10,000% returns there. So the vulnerability to me is just not worth it. At least that's me, you know? Well, hey, they could be. I mean, that could be their motive. I think it's easier to control people. Donkey Kong Sr. saying, hey, they're making it so we don't have any right to buy guns and that. And, in Canada, I own guns, but in Canada, you have to have what's called a possession and acquisition license. Now, that license can be taken from you at any time. In fact, there's only a couple countries, I believe, that have written it into their constitutions that citizens have the right to bear arms. United States is one of them, and either it's Sweden or Switzerland is I'm not too sure, but I think there's only a few out there. And in some places, there's not even an opportunity to even have even a local hunting rifle, or you have to have a really, really good reason to have one. Like, you raise livestock and stuff like that, and on and on and on. So, you know. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, John. Yeah, yeah, that you lost money on three wallets. I mean, I wonder how that happened. If it was, because was your computer hacked, or where was the vulnerability that you actually lost it, or was it you were trying to send it and made a mistake, or what, you know? How did you lose it, John? How did you lose that on Zum Wallet? That would be interesting to know. Probably it's never going to stop, the spam stuff. You have to just go in there and be vigilant. I like Flair. I like Flair. Now that whole thing with Flair Muffin Man, that really bothered me. I thought that was very disingenuous, and it was market makers that did it. So before the Flair airdropped, right, to the ledger holders or the hardware wallet holders, because they got their Flair right away. The people that are on exchanges, well, they're not getting all their. They didn't get it right away. They got a week or a few days later, whatever. But needless to say, the night before you had Flair at 51 cents and it drops like down to like 17 cents and then down to 2 cents. Come on, guys. I mean, that to me was extremely disingenuous. And I actually believe that they went out there and had market makers drop that price heavy so that people wouldn't come out there. And when they did, and when they received their Flair, go in and just, but the ecosystem got crushed. Now, will it come back? I believe the technology, long-term utility, that's what I'm looking at. Not so much the price has some extreme value, and where that will go price action wise is it will be interesting. But I think that this whole idea, the way in which they're doing it now and changing it up and changing the structure and all that, they're saying, hey, it's going to be positive for the ecosystem and all that, and it may very well be, because I still like Flair. But the thing of it is, I just think that when your word has to be your word. Changing your word midstream is not something that invokes, for me, confidence, in the leadership. And what's going to happen if they don't get the vote? Or are they going to manipulate the situation so that of all the voters, they hold the biggest amount? I don't know. But it'd be interesting to see. And if it's just another, we're going to manipulate the ecosystem kind of deal, then I'll probably lose confidence in it very fast, regardless of the amount of profitability that's there. Because, hey, it's like, from an investing and spending perspective, I want to be aligned with those who would hold some of the same values I have, kind of thing, right? So who knows? So I'm just kind of following up here. So John is saying it happened in January, and John Rokes, and it happened on two platforms, in Android, iOS. I'd just be interested to know, what was the technical mechanism that caused you to lose it? I mean, were those platforms like, bad, or, what was going on there? He says, yeah. Steven's asking, just sitting there, it vanished, or was it in a transaction? Yeah, there you are. Jerry Check is saying the Swiss have that right to hold bear arms, just like in the United States, which, by the way, they are certainly trying to peck away at that right. And I sold all my rifles before I came down here because just the hassle of the whole cross-border thing. But I'll tell you one thing, man, when I got down here, I was so thrilled to go out and buy an AR-15. And just because it's something that, you can go around, you can plink around. And I used to be in the military and know my way around, a firearm and, of course, a rifle and stuff like that, and have a lot of respect for it, and how, to utilize it and stuff like that. Plus, having, sidearms and things like that. One guy was saying, hey, David, don't you know how dangerous it is? I said, hey, remember, bud, it's Texas and my angels aren't too far away when I'm out walking about. So, having said that, just in good fun. Obviously, no one wants to really face a situation like that, but you got to be prepared if you are, right? And that's where the whole dignity thing comes from. It's like, look, or am I going to let someone break into my home and murder my family? And I'm gracious, I have a lot of love, but I'll tell you what, you come from my family, I'm going to turn into a different kind of human being, right? And we all would. Most of us would, and that's very understandable. I can meet anybody on the street and treat from the lowest to the highest just the same. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I'm not looking up or down at people in that regard. But hey, if someone comes out and they're out to do you harm, well, it's going to be a different kind of interaction and not one that you really want to have, but you just have to be mentally prepared for it. You have to remember, hey, you're not the one making that decision. They are. And the consequences of some of those decisions can be, severe. And so people need to really think about that. Let's just take a look there. Yes, that's right, Venom. You have got to be on the ball. You can send your crypto to a wrong address and boom, it is gone. And sometimes it can be very difficult to get back. Now, I have seen situations where folks have, sent it over to an exchange and forgot the memo, but they can validate the transaction. Well, a lot of those exchanges will charge you a hefty fee to get that back, right? They'll go out there, they'll investigate. It'll take a long time. They may be able to recover, and then they come back to say, okay, it's going to be $500, $1,000 for us to reverse the transaction. Now, depending on the amount, of course, it's going to be worth it. But in most cases, it can be recovered, but it's going to be a big, big difference. Wow, that's fantastic, River Runner. I spent time in the military and I worked for them as a private contractor, and so did my father or my brother. And I come from a family of long term civil servants and supporters of the military and cousins and all that kind of stuff that have been in the military. And yeah, combat engineer, what an amazing job, boy. I mean, because when you think about that, guys, I mean, they get rivers that they need to actually get an entire, mechanized group across, and they have to figure, okay, we're going to build a bridge here, and we have to build it fast, and da 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 da. And those engineers, I'm telling you what, they're worth their weight in gold to any military, especially when it comes to mobility. That is for sure. So that's really great. Oh, okay. So Homer is asking, in your opinion, how many XRP tokens are needed for generational wealth? This is a good question. I think about it myself a lot. Now, let's put it out in a different way. Do you think that the guy who holds 10 XRP is having the same opportunity for generational wealth as the guy that holds 1,000? Well, probably not, right? Just by virtue of the amount. Now, what is generational wealth too? To some people could be completely different. I'm dealing with people who are already millionaires. In some cases, I've coached people who are already decamillionaires, right? And a lot of us would say, oh, $10 million, dollars, that's generational wealth. But for them, they're looking at generational wealth to being something significantly different. Would it be generational wealth for you to pay off your home, perhaps even buy a rental property and have that to leave to the next generation? Well, sure, that would be generational wealth. So you kind of got to gauge it like that. Now, I will say this. A lot of people ask how much XRP would they need to hold to be a millionaire? So I can at least provide some speculation there, and it is just that speculation. Now, in this next bull run, I genuinely believe, and now we heard what E. Greg Crypto said, he believes it'll go as high as $80. There's other people out there saying, hey, it could go as high as maybe 100 or something. So let's say XRP did go to three figures. Well, what would be the minimum amount of XRP that you would need to hold for it to be a millionaire, right? You'd need to probably hold 10,000 XRP. Why? Because XRP would hit $100. That'd be the first level of three figures. That will make someone a millionaire. Now, is a millionaire generational wealth? Well, guys, it depends how you use it. I'm not joking, because you could invest it in various things and other asset classes that results in generational wealth and leaving something significant behind. So that's how I would answer that question. I'm not a big price predictor. Now I do talk about price predictions, but usually it's someone else's predictions that have been made, publicized, and put out there, in the broader space, and I comment on what those folks say. Now, I have my own guesses and things like that, but I leave that up for everybody. Now, some people here are going to think $100, David, come on, it's going to hit 1,000, if not 10,000. Hey, there's people out there, and perhaps it will somewhere down the line. Now, I don't know if it'll be this next bull run, but I do think there is great potential that we could see a low three-figure XRP in the next bull run. Now, that is what I personally think, and I base it on some various other stuff. But I'm not out there saying, oh, yeah, that's definitely going to happen, because nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody. And that's something you have to remember. All technical analysis, yes, we're looking over the past, and we have seen some fabulous moves. Even in this last, run where XRP was hit with the lawsuit, went to 17.5 cents, went to $1.97, 1,100%, guys, is nothing to sneeze at. Well, needless to say, right? We have these TA guys, they're looking back and this and that, but they're still making, based on that analysis, projections into the future that are not guarantees, right? And that's where person has to establish their risk tolerance, right? You got to use your old wallet there. If you lose it and there's 20 bucks in, say la vie, you lose it, there's 500. Oh my gosh, not too bad. Probably still upset about the ID. You lose it, you got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand in there. Wow, big difference, right? So you have to think about that. And ZLE, he's saying, hey, look, by 2030. Look, and that's another thing too. Let me ask you guys out there this. How long would you be willing to wait to see generational wealth? Would you wait a year? Would you wait 3 years? Would you wait 5? Would you be willing to wait 10? I know I would be. Heck, that guy bought $5 worth of, Bitcoin, and he got 5,000 tokens. If he had just held it for 13 years, he would have 348 million. You think that's multi-generational wealth, right? $5 investment. But a lot of people, what happens is they go up and they don't have the resolve. So, hey, you got to have some to sell if you want to sell. Maybe you want to have some to hold if you want to just wait it out and see how far it goes, right? And then some people would say, oh, no, sell it all. And then when it dips back down, then buy back in and multiply your position. And there's all kinds of rationales out there. What you need to decide is what is right for you. Right? And nobody can decide that for you. You can get all kinds of advice and this and that, but at the end of the day, you're the one making the decision, right? That's how it works. Yeah, Ricky, could be 10 years. But hey, would a person wait? Hey, if all that time, if Ricky, if in that 10 years time, you were just accumulating, and by the time it hit $100, you had a significant bag, I'll tell you what, you're going to be one happy fella that you did that over those 10 years. That is for sure. Hey, I love what Warren Buffett says, right? That these markets are created to transfer wealth from the impatient to the patient. And that's how it works, guys. That is how it works. Wow. Okay, Gord. What would the immediate? Well, I think the immediate impact is going to be it's going to go up. How high? Who knows? I don't think it would go down. Now, if Ripple lost, I think the immediate impact it would go down, right? That's how I think. But it's hard to say. I mean, look, it has been so compressed and suppressed over this last while. I mean, do you think Bitcoin, look, guys, honestly think about this. Imagine Bitcoin and Ethereum cut out practically out of the entire North American exchange, world's largest marketplace. Do you honestly think that Ethereum would have went from $200 to $4,000 being cut out of the world's greatest economy in terms of size? Do you think that Bitcoin would have went from 3,500 to 69,000? Come on, I think we all know that probably wouldn't have happened. So has the price of XRP been suppressed due to this lawsuit? Well, sure it has. Well, that tight spring, how high will it fly when they win this case? Hey, that's anyone's guess, but I do think the price is going to appreciate if we do win. When we win, yeah. Premier, I've answered this question. Should we stake XRP? Well, it depends where you want to stake it. Are you able to hold your private keys when you stake it? Because if not, you're risking it in that. We saw it with Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi, you name it. Are you assured that that is a solvent place that you're staking it, giving you those staking rewards? And if you can't answer that question in the affirmative, then for me, the risk is too great. Let's see. Well, guys, I'll tell you what, we have been on this. I'll stick around for about 10, 15 minutes more, and then we're going to wind it up because we've been on it for about 2 hours. And I tell you what, I truly have enjoyed it. It's been an amazing celebration. And just to remind everybody, we have now opened up the memberships. And so the memberships are really minimal cost for a tier 1 membership, which we call DigiBit. I think it's like $2.99 or $2.49 or something really cheap like that. You get all those badges, you get the emojis, all that. And by the way, I made those badges and emojis myself, and they're actually really cool. So, you get those. You get priority responses to your comments in the videos. And from me directly, by the way, I read every one of the comments. When you see a thumbs up and a heart, the reason you're seeing that is because I put them there. Even on ones that disagree with me, they go, if I read it, I let you know I read it that way. Now, the second tier is you get all of the first, plus you get shout outs in the various, things and in the messages and stuff like that. Eventually it shows up, your profile pic will be, it'll randomly give you some shout outs, things like that. Now the third tier, and I think the second tier is like $4.99 or something like that. Now the third tier is where you get all the previous tiers plus 20% off our one-on-one coaching, which is a major amount. It's like $50 off. And I think that tier is like $24.99. Plus, of course, I'm going to be posting some, private information in there. There may be some private videos, some private emergency, or even some social announcements that are going to go up in there. And you'll have access to me in a different way. You email me. There'll be a special email address that I'm creating for members only, where members will be able to send their questions directly to that email, and I'm going to be responding to those emails as well. So just to know, that's out and that's available there. I really want to just say again how grateful I am to have you guys. I mean, you really have blessed my life in big, big ways. Judy, too. We talk about you guys a lot. And some of them, we mention you guys by name. We, that kind of like, at least the name of your handle, of course. And, we just converse about stuff like that. And it has really, really just infused me with a lot of belief in human nature. Sometimes when you hear so much negative all the time, you kind of get the feeling like, the world's just going to hell in a handbasket. And I'm sure in some ways it still is, but it is amazingly refreshing to actually see folks interact in such a positive way. And I am just going to encourage you, continue to answer one another's questions, whether I've answered it or not. If you can add to that answer, you go right ahead. I'm not going to be offended. In fact, I encourage that. Why? Because, hey, I'm not the be all and end all. I'm not the Mr. Know-it-all here. There's things I don't have a clue about. In fact, like I said, that meme, I didn't know anything about. I thought that was real. But, you have a community and there's a safety in a multitude of counselors. So I value that so very much. And I want you guys to continue to be able to do that on the channel and answer those questions. Now, for a time there, I had because we were getting such a measure of spam and all that kind of stuff. For a time there, I had put the whole channel on all comments under review. Well, I've taken that off. Why? Because I just saw the nature. And then, by the way, I really was able to attack and find ways of getting rid of that garbage when it comes out so that you guys don't have to contend with that. Now, something I want to say is this. There was a member who was contacted by one of these WhatsApp guys. And the conversation was going along and he was interacting. And he thought he was interacting with me. And what he did is he reached out to me vis-a-vis email at david@thedigitaloutlook.com. And he said, hey, David, I just got this. Am I really talking to you? And I was able to tell him, no, man, you're not. I don't use WhatsApp. I don't use Instagram. I don't use, all those kind of things and TikTok and whatnot. And I am not going to ask you to go on there and I don't use Telegram either. And go on there. I'm never going to ask you to, pay me any money. I'm not going to ask you to, give me your private keys. I'm not going to come up with, hey, I got a really great investment opportunity for it. And none of that kind of stuff. And a lot of times they'll put in there, something to the effect of, oh, hit me up right away. Why are you saying right away? Why does it have to be right now? Well, they're like that, guys, because they know eventually if I get in there, you're going to find out and quick that they're not legit. So you see that, for a fact it's not real. Just because my avatar is there, don't think that is me. What you'll see is my avatar and you'll see that black circle around that digital outlook. That will be me. But I'll tell you what, I won't use WhatsApp to get a hold of you or even ask you to reach out to me immediately at any particular number or address or any of that kind of stuff. If you've asked a question about coaching or this or that, I may respond and say, yeah, here's my email address, right? But that's the only way. Don't get duped by those guys. And if you feel like you're not sure, just reach out to me by email and ask, and I will answer those emails and let you know. So, that's always positive. Now, hey, is there any Great question. Like I'm gonna look for. I really appreciate that, Carrie. That is really a blessing, and thank you so much for. I see that there, and you got that digi in there, and that you're now a member. And Alexandros, thank you also for being a member. That was really great. Sasha, good morning to you as well. Okay, so hey, so my question is, Mighty Tone is asking, are we going to basically do a grind until this thing takes off at a halving? Well, the halving has had an impact on price, but I don't think it's just going to be a consistent consolidation. I think we're going to see some moves up and consolidate, some dips a bit down and consolidate. Hey, I've shared that I witnessed in the last bull run, there were times when we shot up like 40% and dropped down 25% and then shot up. And, so you're going to see some big moves up and down, and even though we may be consolidating. But I think what you're witnessing here is a slow step up the stairs. And eventually we're going to see some of these prices. Now, of course, there's always the black swan deal, like the C dump happened. No one was really expecting that. But boy, what an opportunity. That's like, Nordstrom's having a fire sale and everything's 90% off. If we see those kind of dips, guys, back up the truck. At least that's what I'm going to do. I think that those present amazing opportunities. Now, you can decide to participate in those or not. But let's be honest, millionaires are not made buying at the top, right? They're made buying at the bottom and having the patience to wait it out and then liquidating at the top. So you see some major discounts, it may be something to think about at least and decide whether or not you want to have a position. And that being said, it's always good to have a little dry powder, some cash on the side to enter in if you do see some of those things, man, right? Well, Pete, I am going to do my very best. Now, guys, I started this YouTube channel 6 months ago because, hey, I was retired and Judy was saying, look, you can only do so much. Why don't you get out there and do some things? And so it has been a great blessing. And if it wasn't for the encouragement of you folks, more than likely, I probably wouldn't have continued doing it. Now, I will do it for as long as it brings joy into my life to do it. That's at least what I'm going to say, because I can't commit to, who knows, maybe 3 months from now, it's not my thing anymore. I don't want, but I'll tell you what, I will commit to this. I'll let you guys know way in advance. I'm not going to just ghost you. I guarantee you mean too much to me, number one, for that. I respect you too highly to do that to you as a community. I would let you know probably at least 2 or 3 months in advance that I'm probably going to wind things down if I am going to wind things down. So you'll get a heads up. Don't worry about that. And, it would only, and that to me is just having some care and dignity and respect for the community and not just all of a sudden just dropping off planet Earth. Now, hey, if something happens to me, right, that is outside of my control and I'm not able to do that, well, I'm sure eventually you would find that out. But if I just disappear off the scene all of a sudden and you don't hear from me for like a week or two or something like that, then you know that something's up, right? Something's wrong, But God forbid that anything like that should take place. But, I think it's only fair to kind of share that with folks. Oh, so Jeffrey, the memberships are right. So if you go to watch a video, what you're going to see is you're going to see a join button down there underneath the video. You click that join button and it opens it up and will actually kind of take you to those membership pages. And I've registered through YouTube. It's all administered by YouTube. I don't administer that. I put out there what I'm prepared to give and try to keep it as absolutely low as possible so that, absolutely the majority of people could participate for an entire month at the lowest level. It's like $2.99, right? And I mean, that's less than a coffee. And a lot of people buy 2 or 3 coffees a day. So, I mean, I thought that is really reasonable. And then even the next level is like $4.99. If you're getting a Venti, you're going to be spending about that. And so again, that is for the whole month. Really, really makes it affordable and allows for a great level of interaction and participation and just gives that added value to everybody. I thought that was really fair. And now the $24.99 a month, of course, that's giving someone access if they wanted to, take a long-term coaching, because I've had folks that have done repeat coaching. And if you're wanting to do that, I mean, coaching is like $250 a month. And by the way, when a lot of people come out and they'll critique, hey, oh, it's not financial. Financial advisors, guys, are thousands of dollars. Really, they are. And the coaching that I provide, and a financial advisor in most cases is making decisions for you. What I'm giving you is the ability to actually go out there with some real world information that is highly, highly valuable and specific to you, really, in fact. And you're going out and being able to make your own decisions utilizing that, and it'll really make a difference in your space. Well, that $24.99 gives you 20% off of every coaching session, right, per month. And so if you wanted to do one a month or something for maybe 2 months or 3 months, so you do one or two and three until you feel, okay, I think I really got this and I've got some great coaching in, because we build precept on precept. We don't just give you the same thing each time. We build precepts on precepts, and so there's only so much you can do. And by the way, in most cases that I've done the coaching, it works out to be more than an hour. It always seems to do that, and I'm generous with that. And so you sign up for that $24.99. You're able to get $50 a month off of that. That'll save you $150 over a period of 3 months. It'll make a big, big difference. So that's why I put that one out there. I'm not going to charge $24.99. I saw other folks out there that have it, and they're up to $99.99. I think Lulu has a level that goes as high as $100 a month. I thought that was phenomenal. So now, guys, here we are. We got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to stick to that so that you guys can have an amazing rest of your day. For me, it's like 12:30. I know Judy, she loves Saturdays. We go out and we do a little shopping and like to take her out and go for lunch. And by the way, having said that, guys, your greatest investment that you're ever going to make is in lives. You know that. It is in life. It's in your life. And the satisfaction you're going to get out of your relationships is going to be commensurate as to what you put in, right? And I would just encourage you, take the weekend, spend that time with your family, man. Make the time available. And if you're a guy, if you have to work on the weekend, I get it. I remember the days when I could only afford one tomato and I literally worked 16 hours a day. My nose was right to the grindstone. My kids were small. And I ended up missing some really amazing times with my children because I was really trying to make a way for my family. And so I want you to know I get that. There is no judgment there. And if you're doing that, I really commend you because that is an amazing amount of commitment to your family. And that's love in action, truly is. You're out there working to provide. But, you get the chance to spend time with your family. There's so many distractions in life. Yeah, we got to shop. Yeah, we got to clean. Yeah, we got to do this. Hey, put the iron down for a little while. Go sit with your husband. Hey, put the broom down. Come out of the shop, take that time out, invest in one another because the only thing we're taking with us when we actually, hey, we can, I used to see those bumper stickers, he who dies with the most toys wins. Really? I think he who dies with the greatest relationships wins because that's the only thing we get to take with us at the end of the day is one another. And so to me, that's where the greatest investment and the greatest value is. And so I really hope that message comes through. You guys are an amazing community. I really, really, really appreciate y'all so very much. And you've made it. You've made it the positive environment that it is. It is not me. Yeah, maybe I'm the guy out front, blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you what, it's you guys that are really holding this community together because without you, this 15,000 because I'm doing it reverse. Okay, this 15,000 K subs would have never happened if it wasn't for the guys that have supported this channel like you guys. Sharing it, moving it out there really is amazing. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so very much, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Yeah, I agree. Hang in there. Encourage one another. Keep doing it, man. Awesome. All right, guys. We got 3 minutes left. Throw out a big one. Give a big question. Someone come out with something big. I'll wait here, and then we'll wind it up after I answer that one question. I'm going to wait on it. See what happens there. Well, Oliver does have one. I will try and answer this for you, Oliver. What are your top 10 coins, David, off the top of your head? Okay. Off the top of my head that I like. Now, if I'm not talking about price, I'm talking about utility. Obviously, you got XRP, XLM, Hedera Hashgraph, all the ISOs, Algorand, Quant, wow. Quant, like Quant, there's 5. Chainlink is going to have some big moves. Polkadot as a layer 1 could be a really, really good one as well. Well, let's see. What else would I... VeChain, my goodness, how could I forget that? VeChain, I think, is going to be a big one there. What would be some other ones there that I would think that could have some long-term great potential? I used to hold Zilliqa, but Theta could be a big one. Theta could be a really big one. IOTA. I used to hold a good bag of IOTA, but at the time, IOTA and XRP were trading at the same amount. And I was just thinking to myself, well, look, I don't want to be kind of like spread too thin, right? So I translated my IOTA into XRP. So, I guess IOTA could be in that list. Well, there's about 10. I mean, I could think of others, but one thing I'll say about diversification is this. If you're so diversified, what ends up happening is like having your butter spread over too many slices of bread. You barely taste anything. You want to be consolidated to a level, and depending on the size of your portfolio, should measure the size, because, a lot of people, I don't want to miss that one. Well, there's just too many, guys. Focus in on where you can see the maximum gain, right? Don't be so spread out that if you do see a gain, it's not really significant gain because you just don't have as big a position in that because you're spread so thin on everything. Take a few of them where you say, okay, my priority is this, and just take a few, and based on your research and your conviction and that risk appetite you have, you may have a bigger risk appetite for XRP than you do XDC. And oh, by the way, I almost forgot, XDC should definitely be on that top 10 list. So yeah, those are the ones I'm thinking of there. Yeah, well, you know what? As loaded as people think I am, I live a very modest lifestyle like everybody else. Judy and I still go to Winco. We still go to Costco. We still do this and that. Yeah, have we, had a few carrots, right? Has our life changed in life-changing way? Sure, it has. Absolutely. But you know what? We haven't. We want to be humble people. We want to live just with, just the same way. Guys, I got an amazing 2002 Chevy Tahoe out there that I love. And that truck has just been amazing, and it runs fantastic. I'm kind of in that way like Warren Buffett. He still has the same cars. Why would because it works and it's good. Now that doesn't mean you don't go out and reward yourself when you kind of make it, because I went out and yes, we bought some stuff, and I do have a sports car, but I'll tell you what, it's not a big fat Lamborghini. I didn't get a Lambo. I got a little BMW out there. So there are things that you're going to do to, there's got to be that little reward at the end of the day. And the first thing we did, you want to be a blessing to others. You want to be a blessing to others. Sow into the kingdom, sow into the community, make a difference in somebody else's life, and watch and see what happens with that. Jesus said, give, it'll be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, will men pour into your bosom. There is a truth of sowing and reaping. And hey, when you go out there and sow, you're not expecting one apple for one apple seed, right? You're expecting a tree with a multiplicity of apples and for not only one season, right? That's what sowing and reaping is all about. Yes, that's right, Oliver. If you respect money, in fact, you'll learn that money is not a commodity to consume, right? It's literally like a tool in your hands, and how you use it can make a big difference. There's people out there that make way more than others, but these people over here that make the little, their little goes way farther than all that big money that this guy is making. Why? Because he spends every cent he makes, and these people, it's like the tortoise and the hare. They take the slow train and they build it up over time, and then they leave something to their family, and that is generational wealth. All right, man. So just reading some of these comments, and oh, Sasha, that is a heavy question. Okay, I'm gonna finish with Sasha's question here. Do you think or do you think XRP will completely remove central counterparties? Well, not really. Why? Because the way in which Ripple is interacting, they're changing the financial system, and they're doing it in partnership with, the traditional rails, but they're transforming it into something amazing. So liken it unto the first steam engines for trains, right? Now, they were running on rails and things like that. Now you look at these high speed trains, these bullet trains like the one I took in Italy that could take you from, Rome up to Venice like in like 2 hours, like woof. There is a difference, but we've got to be able to work with the traditional. So will it take it away completely? No, but it will put a major amount of influence into the hands of the holders. And when I say influence, I'm talking about jurisdiction over the custody of their own assets and financial futures. So I think there will be a kind of a marrying of those two things. So anyway, guys, I really want to say thanks. I appreciate y'all so very much. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you on Monday, and kind of really looking forward to it. I think next week is going to be some major things going on, and it'll be great. And especially we're going to have some major videos out there. So I want to say thanks. It's been an amazing, amazing ride to 15,000. And by the way, guys, we're at 17,000, I think, or close to subscribers today. So really amazing. And when we hit 20, wow, it's going to be great. And we'll be back on 20. We do our live streams when we have these milestones so that there's value in them and not just, like something that happens commonly. I want to make them extra special for everybody because you're extra special to me, to be sure. All right, guys. So just want to say have a blessed day. Thank you so much. And we're just going to end the broadcast and just, hey, keep going out there. Keep being you. Keep enjoying life. Remember, that's why life is a gift. That's why they call it the present. A little corny, I know, but hey, throw that out there. All right, guys, take care and be blessed.